All right, we're cutting a whole lot of things short today, guys, including our title screen. Surprise, Tom, we're live!
Hey, who knew?
Who knew? Not you. I really
Well,
got,
now I do.
yeah, I really got to find a way to be able to send that through Google Hangouts because that just is terrible. By the way, I'm joined by Tom, and it's a duo show today.
Hello, everyone.
And it's better to have two voices when we're doing a whole set review, and this one being, of course, of DC Rebirth. So we're going to be skipping over the usual fare of our week in HeroClix. It would have been boring anyway for me because
me
I
too.
did a Rebirth release set or a release tournament. So yeah,
And I didn't, because it turns out that the store was sold out, and we didn't know until we got there.
wow,
Whoops.
was that for a one or?
Yeah, yeah, that was
That's a
not the
shame.
best, but it happens.
Yeah, but before we get everything started, Tom, people love it. It's back.
Hey,
It's Tom's charts.
I'm going to have to take your word for it that it's probably on screen at the moment, since I can't see it, but I'm going to go through at the same time. So when I tell you to change the slide, you change the slide, and we'll go. Yes, if it's maybe it's been a while. In fact, it's been definitely a while. And if we have any new viewers in the last year or two since the last time I did one of these, then a quick explanation. I like when new sets come out, when I have the time to be able to do it, to crunch some numbers on the release of that new set and just get a general sense of the type of things that the set includes that would sort of, and the things that set is contributing to the larger meta of the game. So, what are the major keywords, team abilities, what sorts of values are we seeing, point values, attack, and, stat values on the dials, what sorts of powers are coming out. And so what I try to do is crunch the numbers through for the set and come up with some fairly basic charts just to kind of get you thinking about what sorts of things you might expect from this set. It's potentially useful if you're playing sealed events, and also just when you're thinking about what are the sorts of things that this set is contributing to the larger meta. So if you suddenly discover, as with this set, a real example is, there's a lot of TK. Spoiler alert, there is a fair amount of TK in this set. Then that does open up a bunch more options in the future of the game, in at least the immediate future of the game, for some new and interesting TK type pieces and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of fun wankery, and it's also a bit of interesting stuff to see what's coming down the road. And two quick caveats about the way the charts work. Number one, when it comes to defining what is a character, I am counting every unique point value at which something can be played as a unique character. So yes, if you grab a piece that can be played at 100 or 50 points, that's obviously only one piece of plastic. But as far as its contribution to the game is concerned, those are two distinct dials, in a manner of speaking. So that's the reason why this set has 60 some odd people, or 60 some odd pieces of plastic. But there are 113 new playable dials with the drop of Rebirth, which, by the way, is a huge number. That's the biggest I can remember. So Rebirth is definitely giving us a wealth of different things that we can play, and we'll get to that as we go through the show today. The other thing that should be noted is that because one of the things that the charts do is they'll talk about distribution of powers. I am looking at every different source of the powers in question. So if the question is who has a willpower in the set, I'm including indomitable characters, quintessent characters, etc. If we're talking about who has stealth, I'm including Batman allies, as well as people who have powers within their standard powers within their special powers, standard powers within their traits, etc. The whole point is to be as inclusive as possible about the different ways in which people have powers. If there is somehow conditional, if it's like, you can only use leadership if you're being played on a specific named keyword theme, then I just kind of make a call. Does it seem like you reasonably have access to the power? If so, then I'll say yes. If not, then I'll say no. So that's my little preamble. For those who enjoy, then I hope you will enjoy. And let's get into it with the very first slide, or I guess the second slide technically, which is the keyword cloud. I like these a little better than the banal graphs that I used to do, the line charts, in terms of as with all word clouds, if you're not familiar with them, the notion is that the larger the word cloud, the more often a thing shows up in the set. So what does this set have a lot of? Well, look for the big words: martial artists, monsters, scientists, Teen Titans, Justice League, to a lesser extent, Mystical, Justice League International, Justice League of China, and then a whole bunch of little things as well. So there's all kinds of little bits of keywords that are being injected into the into the current modern mosaic of HeroClix. But particularly, Monster has already been very successful. It gains a bit more. Scientist is on the rise, and this will only help. Martial Artist, I think, is just waiting for its day in the sun. I mean, we've got Chase Green Arrow, who's already an outstanding martial artist. We've got the Shredders. I'm thinking of the Shredder from the Fast Forces of the new TMNT4 set that can't be targeted unless you're standing next to him. He's viable. There's a piece in TMNT that makes all martial artists into Foot Clan soldiers. The Foot Elites, I believe, are martial artists. So lots of potentially viable martial artists out there, and some more injected with the set, along with everything else that you see. Anything you want to add there, Jason?
No, this one's very self-explanatory. It's keywords; they're there. This is
Yep.
I mean, I like to see that Monster is still a big one. Yeah.
And Scientist too. The next slide is even more straightforward, which is the team ability cloud. No surprise here. The big one here is no affiliation. Although we'll see as we go through the set, they're doing better than they were when we had this conversation 2 years ago. This time, it seemed like practically everybody was unaffiliated, and the team abilities were just dying altogether. We have seen in this set a big injection of Titans, which very few were there before. A fair little handful of Mystics and Batman allies and Superman allies, and a fair number of Justice League. It's a shame that sucks now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an unplayable. Well, not unplayable. It's just it's a very, very underwhelming team ability. Some more outsiders, though. Probably, even though there aren't very many of them, probably the most interesting new injection from this is the fact that we got some outsiders back, and that outsiders is big. So
yeah.
Yeah. Next up, we're talking about the point values of the set. Now, in some past instances of the Tom's charts, I've been able to compare the point values of this set to the general point values of the current modern meta, but I didn't have time to crunch the entire new modern meta because I haven't been keeping up with my charts. So in this case, we're just looking at the point values for this set. It shouldn't surprise you too much. It's probably too small there for you to be able to see the legends. I'll help guide you through it. Jason has also been kind enough to provide a link in the description of the video here so that you can download your own copy if you want to take a closer look on your own time. If you think we're going too fast as well, by all means, take the time to look over them yourself. The three big spikes you're seeing there are the 40 to 50 point value, the 70 to 80 point value, and the 90 to 100 point value. That shouldn't come as much of a surprise to anybody. The three big point values here being 50, 75, and 100, since a lot of the pieces that come with multiple starting lines, one of them is on those. We do have a fair spike up in the around 200 and a few above 200 region, which is something we haven't been seeing a lot of in recent sets. So some more expensive stuff in the set, but still the vast majority is all at 100 points or less. So this actually is a slightly this set tends to be a little more expensive than some of the ones that we've seen recently. When I say expensive, what I mean is really the higher cost of figures on the average, but that average is still well below 100, so you're still looking at an average of probably 3 to 4 characters on your force. This isn't like the Superman set all over again.
Yeah. One observation to add to that is that when a lot of what you see in the 175 and the 200 points also gets folded into that 100-point value. As you said, this includes all of them. So a lot of them fall into that. We have 2-point values set up.
Yeah, I don't think there's really. I'm off the top of my head. I don't even know what the most expensive piece in the set is that can only be played at its highest value. But I think it's the chases that are at 225 and like 150 or whatever they are as their second line. I think that they're the highest pointed figures in the entire set as far as their lowest point option, and there aren't even very many of those. So pretty much everything can be played for 100 points or less if you want to.
Yeah, there's a few that sit at 175, and then there's one or two that sit at 200, or a few of them sit at 200, and then Devastator jumps above that at 225.
Yeah, Devastator and the other one. There's two 225s, but they're both playable at 152. So
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Next up, we have the combat values for the set. Now, the tiny mouse type there is saying that the blue bars represent the average for the first click of the dial, and the orange bars are the general average across the entire dial for the various different items. So in the movement category, what you basically see is that almost everybody starts with an 8, 9, or 10 movement, and it's about equal between those three. So if your charge characters are generally moving between 4 and 5, your running shot characters are generally moving between 4 and 5. Well, there are very few exceptions, with the exception of a few speedsters and some decently quick pieces and very few slow pieces. And across the average on the dial, it really does zero in on an 8, between an 8 and a 9, favoring the 8. So That's roughly how far you're looking to go. If you want to cross an entire map, then you're going to take 2 and a bit turns to do it. And by and large, people start a bit faster and they get a bit slower, which is not too surprising. On the attack values, this is crazy. The opening attack value, the vast majority, or not the vast majority, but the majority are at 11, closely followed by 10 and almost nothing else. So really, on the top of the dials, it's always 10s and 11s, with more 11s than 10s. On the average across the dial, it's still mostly 10s and 11s. It just favors 10s a bit more, with a bit more of a spike of 9. So really, really stable attack values in this set. Most interesting is to compare them with the defense values, which see their largest spike at 17 with a slightly smaller one at 18. That is true at the start of dials, and it becomes even more true as you look at the entire dial. So if you're looking at an average attack value of between 10 and 11 favoring 11, and an average defense value of between 17 and 18 favoring 17, that differential is closing in on 6. And in a lot of other sets, if you've seen these stats before, generally speaking in HeroClix, they tend to look at an attack defense differential that zeroes in around 7, which is not surprising considering 7 is the closest to 50-50 that a 2d6 roll can get without actually being 50-50. So attacks always generally favor the attacker in that type of a setting. But as the differential between the attack and defense favors the attack more and more, then there is ever increasing pressure to make those attacks. Your likelihood of hitting with your attacks on average in this set are higher than usual. So if you're going into a sealed tournament for this set and you're having a decision between maybe playing a bigger tent pole or a squad of smaller guys, I think more attacks are going to serve you in the long run of this set more than most, because very few people are well enough defended to deal with the fact that basically no one has less than a double-digit attack value off the top. And even across their dial, that'll be their average. Damages really spike around 3 and fall away on either side, slightly favoring 4. Almost half the set has 0 range, and for those who do have range, they're generally around 6. And for the number of clicks of life on average are generally 5 or 6. So if you're looking at that damage being mostly around 3 and the average clicks of life being between 4 and 6, especially 5 and 6, that's generally 2 attacks to a KO. If they've got some kind of reduction, which you'll soon see that most do, then maybe 3 attacks to a KO. But still, this goes back to my theory that more attackers is probably better in this set because no one's really hanging in there, in my opinion. That's what I take from that. What do you think?
Also worth noting, especially for a sealed environment, as you said, more attacks goes a long way. More attacks are hitting in this kind of environment when 11 skews as high as it does, and 17 still skews very high as the starting defense. That means you're averaging, like you said, 6 to hit. That speeds up the sealed environment a lot as far as characters dying, and I observed it myself definitely on Saturday. It's like nothing is missing except for me.
Yeah. So. It's still a dice game, but it's very much this suppresses some of the vicissitudes of. This is the opposite of Sinister. If anyone was around as far back as Sinister when everything missed, because the differential in Sinister was approaching an 8. Well, yeah. The differential here is approaching a 6, and it's amazing what a difference that makes across many different characters across many different turns in a tournament setting.
I think we referred to that as a year of 9/17.
Yep, that was it. All right. Next up, we're looking at movement powers. The graph on the left is the percentage distribution of starting powers across the set on the starting clicks of everyone's dial. And on the right-hand side, it's the percentage distribution of powers across the entirety of everyone's dial. What I think is most interesting, perhaps, is that, again, sidestep is king, especially across the entire dial. Charge plus sidestep is almost 50% of the movement power distribution of the entire set. Now, of course, it's a little bit misleading, perhaps, because of the fact that people can have stacked powers. But charge, very common. Basically, a third of the distributed opening clicks have charge. Now remember, because people, different characters can have multiple different starting speed powers, that means that more than 30% of the characters are starting with charge. So a lot of charge in this set. No lack of running shot at 14%, and hypersonic at a starting 11%. That means on average, if you play sealed, you're probably going to pull at least 1 hypersonic piece. I mean, that's kind of how that math works. And hypersonic goes a long way in this particular set. No pun intended. Lots of phase teleport, not a lot of everything else. This is also one of these things where, if I see um, a higher hypersonic speed number, then I look to see if there's a correspondingly high plasticity number. There is not. Ergo, by and large, your big attackers are going to have a harder time getting locked down. So watch out for that when you're building your teams.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to add on that one, to be honest. So
Next up, we have attack powers. The pie for none has only 14% on the starting click and only 19% on the total. Anecdotally speaking, it's usually a lot higher.
yeah.
Attack powers are the one slot where it's very often empty, and in this set, yeah, it's not. There is a great distribution of powers within, though. There's a little bit of everything. There's not a ton of pulse wave, and there's smoke cloud no one really cares about, and obviously steel energy doesn't show up much at the top of people's dials, though it does once. But everything else, very much somewhat in balance. And again, with TK in the set, 9% starting means that, again, you're probably going to pull at least one TKer in your sealed. At least that would be how the averages play out. So even if you don't pull one, expect to play against it. TK is a powerful power in sealed, and so it's something to be aware of. Yeah, there's a fair chunk of super strength. So if you pull your stealth pieces and you want to throw some heavy objects onto your force in order to try to give them some protection, be aware super strength is fairly common in this set, and a lot of them could be used against you. Or TK could use them against you too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm wondering, this takes into account things like traits, right?
It does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so a lot of what takes up the brunt of smoke cloud, I think, is Tempest.
Oh yeah. Well, Tempest and the one right next to Tempest, like, or no, maybe it's not. But anyway, there's not much smoke cloud in general.
Yeah. All right.
Not that anyone's really missing it.
Next up, defense.
Unprecedented thing has happened here. On both the starting click and the full dial, nowhere in the entire set of DC Rebirth is there a defense click without a power on it. I have never seen that. That is amazing to me. I was so convinced I had to be wrong that I wound up double checking the entire evidence thread dial by dial, because I'm like, I must have missed something. There must be at least one click on a dial somewhere that doesn't have a defense power, but sure doesn't. There is a ton of defense out there. Everybody has at least something showing, whether it's a special power or a standard power. There's a fair amount of Indomitable, which is why you see a walloping 35% opening willpower, which is crazy. And in fact, a 36% full dial willpower. So a lot of Indomitable by the standards of what we've been doing, as well as just plain old willpower. Am I still there?
Yeah, no, I think it was just my end hardware problem.
Okay. Toughness, common. Impervious, kind of common. Invincible, kind of like damage reduction in general. When you consider starting numbers, your impervious plus your invincible plus your invulnerable makes up 32% of the dial. It goes to 43% when you include toughness. Again, that's a bit low considering some people can stack defense powers. So nearly half of the pieces in the entire set have some kind of damage reduction. So that is going to factor into what we were saying earlier about how many hits you have to get in order for it to work. 10% of the clicks of life in the set have combat reflexes, which is pretty common and is double what the energy shield deflectioners have. So we talked earlier about the fact there's a lot of charge. Half the set doesn't have any range at all. There's also a fair amount of combat reflexes. Given the amount of precision strike and penetrating psychic blast there is, which is not inconsiderable, if you've gained the ability to deal range combat damage, and especially if you have the ability to do it penetrating, I think it's worth trying to breach for in this set.
Absolutely. Man, combat reflexes scares me.
Right? Well, that does rebalance those numbers a little bit from earlier. And finally, damage powers. Really not a lot of surprises here. A pretty fair chunk of shape change, of course. The most common power in the world these days with special objects taken into account. Probability control, perplex, and outwit make up a tidy 35% of the opening clicks. So that does mean that, again, adjusting for the multiples that people can have, then I would be looking to about 40% or so of the clicks having one of the above classic powers to start with. Pretty good numbers, actually. More prob than I thought. Again, I had to look back to make sure that I was right, but I am. There is a fair amount of prob, and there are lots of ways of building named theme teams. So this will be a re-rolling set. Fair chunk of leadership. Not too many blank dials. Other than that, a nice spattering of everything.
I did observe in the tournament that there's a fair amount of the probability control that is conditional,
Right.
specifically with the Ravagers, because one can only prob themselves and the other one can only prob opposing rolls, but still,
Yeah,
that's
I
still a
don't.
lot of prob.
And in a lot of cases, I don't know that I was always taking like I wasn't always counting that because if I
Oh,
thought it was
jeez.
something if it wasn't something you could control, I think if you could prob yourself, I think I counted it. But if you could only prob like things targeting you, I think I didn't because you can't. That's not really within your control.
Well, I mean, she has the one where it's she can prob things targeting her and what she's targeting, and then the other
Right.
Ravager was opposing rolls.
Yeah, I think I didn't do opposing, but I
Okay.
did do the first one.
Okay.
So
Cool.
even then, there's a lot of other prob in there too. We'll get there. It's a fairly balanced set from a powers perspective. It's a very balanced set in general. It's a little milk toast.
I do notice too. WizKids recognizes how much we all love leadership nowadays.
Yes,
That's on the rise.
absolutely.
That's it.
That's it. That's Tom's
Yeah.
charts for the week.
That's Tom's charts.
Exactly.
Yeah. And like Tom
Whatever
said,
that is.
if you want to grab your own copy, we have the Google Drive link down in the description below. You can take a look at them again, a closer look at them yourself that way. But with that said, it's time. It is time to go deep diving.
Woohoo!
Oh man, do I love this part of the period. The
Oh,
longest episode we do. Got my big old cup of water. Got an energy
got my
drink
big old
flowing
cup of
through
beer.
me. We're gonna go piece
Got my-
by piece. So if you're watching live and you have questions about our opinion of the piece, either scrub back to the piece or pay attention because here we go. And we're starting. We're using the evidence thread, so sometimes there's still some typos in there or stuff like that. But for the most part, seemed pretty good. HC Rums hasn't fully updated the unit section with the set just yet.
And just to clarify, I think that we're gonna at least for my purposes, I'm gonna kind of go on a thumb system. My thumb system primarily is going to be based around sealed play, largely because of the fact that, frankly, I will tell you if a piece seems good for meta level constructed, but it doesn't happen as often, and I didn't want this to have a negative
Yeah,
tone.
yeah,
So
and that is one thing you have to understand is I think I discussed this on an episode just with Jay, where if you actually take all the figures in the grand scale of the game and then go into what gets played frequently in the metagame, maybe 10% at a high rate
yeah.
finds its way into the metagame, and that's okay. Not every figure like this game is fun. Not every figure has to be competitive play.
And there's lots of pieces that'll like scratch a very particular niche. It's like, oh man, I wish I had somebody with the warrior keyword that cost 45 or fewer points and has opening blades.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, there'll be a piece that maybe fits that bill that otherwise you'd never build around. You specifically want it for that team, so rock on. It'll find its way in that way. A real certified thumbs up for constructed really means this is a piece I want to start building around, and that is pretty rare.
Yeah. As well, sometimes a figure has just one team it works on, and that's where you kind of get me going, there's a team for it, but there's not a lot of teams for it.
Right.
All right, I think we've qualified enough to say we're gonna do this now. I'm gonna start
Let's
with figure number one, Deathstroke, one of my favorite characters in the DC universe. He's got the team ability, which is just wild card. 6 range. He comes at 100 points. Assassin, Hive, Martial Artist, Society, Soldier, and Suicide Squad keywords. Ignores hindering for movement. He has a trait when Deathstroke KOs one or more characters with an action after resolutions. Heal Deathstroke 2 clicks. And the best there is a special movement power on his first 3 clicks, which gives him charge and running shot. Also note that he has both Psychic Blast and Exploit Weakness on those 3 clicks. This is a sealed Biziam. He's so good in sealed. And that, yeah, definitely really good in the sealed environment for this, would be beyond a shadow of a doubt. Tom?
Agreed. He's a thumbs up for me for sealed. I mean, I'm not as enthusiastic as I think you are, but then you've actually played sealed for the set, and I've only thought about it. He's just a little bit too shallow for my liking, but you can't argue with everything that he does. He's just good enough to keep that thumb in the right direction.
Yeah.
I'm not going to think of him much for constructed.
Fair enough. All right. Figure number 2, Jericho. 6 range, 60 points, no team abilities, defiance, and armor keywords. He's got this Remember We're the Good Guys trait, which all the Defiance characters have. When Jericho hits one or more opposing characters with an attack, but none are KO'd, after resolutions, roll d6. On a 3 to 6, heal Jericho one click. Then he's got a special movement power, which gives him mind control and running shot. What do you think? He's got leadership to start, some outwit in the second click. What do you think of Jericho there, Tom?
For me, it is a big thumbs up, probably bigger than most. I love the fact that his mind control will trigger his trait, so that he can still heal himself even when he's mind controlling, because he does have mind control down the whole dial. I also like the fact that he's a taxi for your team with leadership, which is always nice. You've got your guy standing next to you already. A nice push onto outwit is great, and giving up psychic blast for precision strike is kind of a mix. You know, it's a little bit of something bad, a little bit of something good. That combined with a decent range value and a set that isn't as big on range as it could be makes it a thumbs up for Sealed, in my opinion. Again, not that interested in him beyond that.
He is fairly good. Both Jerichos, and spoiler alert, there's another Jericho, performed fairly well in the format. So next we move to Rose Wilson. No team ability, 60 points, Defiance, Assassin, Martial Arts, keywords. What you see is what you get. Dial, ignores hindering for movement. Remember We're the Good Guys trait as well. And then she's traded Visions of Another's Death. Probability control, but can only reroll opposing attacks. She performed fairly okay for Sealed. Her lack of stealth really kind of hurt her ability to stay alive at a distance, because if anybody had range, she was very easy to blow out of the water. That was my observation from it. She's okay, but you really have to put in some work into protecting her. That's what I'm seeing. So Tom, your thoughts?
Oh, agreed. To me, she's a thumbs down, and in the case a thumbs down doesn't mean it'll never end up on a team. It just means that she's not going to be in the pile of pieces that I want to build around. She fills things out. She's pretty milk toast. I don't think that we're ever going to talk about this piece again. Watch me be wrong. Go ahead, timestamp it if she starts tearing up the meta. But boy, I can't imagine how.
Yeah, I was gonna say I want to, and also when you timestamp it, send us the essay proofs, as it were. All right, next up we have Terra, 6 range, 65 points, Defiance keyword. Remember We're the Good Guys trait. Insert rock-based power pun here. Barrier. Other friendly characters adjacent to one or more of her barrier markers can use toughness and modified defense +1. And then she's got a special defense power, which she has on all of her clicks except for her first one. Energy, shield, and deflection, toughness, and willpower, but only if... Oh, and the willpower is only if Terra is adjacent to blocking terrain. Barrier tends to make its way into a lot of formats, sealed and otherwise. So I think that kind of makes her stand fairly well. Plus her barrier makes your team a little better. There are some teams that can make use of this, but again, because she's Defiance only keyword for constructed, that kind of limits her availability for teams. But she's really good in sealed for sure. What do you think, Tom?
I only partially agree. To me, she's basically a thumb sideways, because if you didn't pull a better source of TK or taxi, then I think she's good for your team. But I think that most of the other TKers in the set, I prefer to her slightly. Barrier is great, but without, like, it only goes so far. She got a lot of things I want to be using her clicks for. I want to be taxiing with her. I want to be TKing with her. I want to be barriering with her. Options are great. No willpower is less great. And she just isn't serving any particular need so badly that I feel like I must have her.
Okay. All right. Next up, we have the Kid Flash. Titans team ability, 50 points, Central City, Teen Titans, and Speedster keywords. Hypersonic across the board. It colors as you see is what you get. Ignores elevated and hindering trait for movement. And he's got the Titans Reborn trait. When Kid Flash is given a move action after resolutions, he can use the Teen Titans team ability at no cost. What do you think of this one, Tom?
Thumbs up to me. It's a good use of 50 points. It's a hypersonic piece that has enough damage to be able to crack heavy reduction, and the double rollouts on a high defense, along with the ability to park yourself back in hindering to make sure you're harder to shoot. Pushing really hurts. You lose both your rollouts, and ESD doesn't go that far. So I think you want to try to avoid it any way that you can. If you go up against it, maybe do your best to not deal 3 damage. If you can deal 4, then rock on. Otherwise, try to deal 2. But annoying enough up front and cheap enough that I think it's decent.
To just kind of ape what Tom was saying, if you're going to push, make sure somebody with Titan Reborn isn't too far away.
Right. And it does. It is good to be able to try to work that together. It also got a few keywords, which is more than we can say for Terra.
Yeah, definitely. All right, next up, Power Girl. Titans team ability, 50 points. No range. Star Labs, Teen Titans Scientist keyword. Titans Reborn trait, and this is just a generic super strengthy character with Perplex. This is a character who's okay to have on your team, but if she is my only source of Perplex, I'm wishing I pulled something slightly different, just because she is so close combat focused. She can carry, which is good, but I mean, again, there's other sources of Perplex I'd prefer. Dom?
Yeah, she's pretty well from a thumb perspective. She's a thumbs down.
Yeah.
I mean, Perplex is the only thing that makes her interesting and not interesting enough.
Yeah. All right, next up, figure number 7, Commander Steel. He comes in at 40 points, Justice Society team ability, All-Star Squadron, Justice Society pass, and Soldier keywords. The Haywood Legacy is his first trait. When Commander Steel is hit with a close attack, after resolutions, deal the attacker 1 penetrating damage. And then he's got the Simpler Time trait, which for Steel isn't really going to play much in. Well, there's a couple.
There's some wild cards.
There's some wild cards, and there's a couple Justice Society. I just remembered. Once per turn for all characters with this trait, if a character uses the JSA team ability, replaces defense value with Commander Steel's when targeted with a close attack after resolutions, deal the attacker 1 penetrating damage. So it basically gives them their trait if they're using his defense. Tom?
Oh, thumbs up for me. Like it's. Look at her. Look at Commander Steel next to Power Girl.
Yeah.
You get Indomitable. You've got better damage output. You've got better damage reduction up front. Yeah, you lose a click and you lose Perplex, but you also lose 10 points. And the Justice Society could be cool, especially with wild cards as a potential, because he starts at 17. He's going to want that Justice Society to borrow other people's, let alone lend his out. And it's kind of cool that he's got quasi mystics. So honestly, for 40 points, it's a good deal.
Yeah. Especially next to the death stroke that we're talking in the first thing. And it's very likely to pull 2 different commons.
Yeah, and leadership, pass and soldier are good keywords. There's an outside possibility he might be somewhat constructed worthy. Not that you'd ever build around him, but for the points, considering he's lending out a leadership and he's not a terrible tertiary attacker and lends out a nice wild cardable team ability, you never know.
It's always the little things that can help a little. We end up having the biggest conversations about.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. All right, Adeline Kane, police team ability, 5 range, 30 points. Argus, Hive, politician, soldier, spy keywords. It's a what you see is what you get. Dial. Bring it all down around you. Slade is her trait. Free. Choose 2 opposing characters within 6 squares in line of fire with the same trait or special power printed on their cards, and choose 2 standard powers. Those opposing characters can't use the chosen standard powers until your next turn. Okay. At first, I was very down on this figure.
Okay.
But then something came to fruition. We're in a meta game where people are playing a lot of multiples of the same character. As a result, what that means is if you've got 2 of the same dude, they're going to have the same traits. They're going to have the same special powers on their cards, which means she's now going to be able to use that double outwit on a pair of those guys. It's one of those situations where in the current environment, she seems a little better than she looks. She's set strong because there's a lot of characters that are sharing keywords, especially once you get into Teen Titans teams occur a lot. And it's not even, it just happens. Or a lot of characters with the Teen Titans will get played together, and then she gets a double effective outwit. Plus she's PD and an enhancement in sealed. Together, that's a great combination. At first glance, she seems and I don't think she's necessarily the level of hard counter that I make it sound like when I first described her, but she's better than she looks when you actually read that power. It's kind of where I'm going with that.
I'll agree with that. I'm still going to give her a thumbs down. Better than she looks is unfortunately kind of damning her with faint praise, because I don't think that she's very good, and I'd rather spend my 30 points on Mangog.
That's fair. That's fair. But Mangog's not soldier.
That's true, but I'll break theme for Mangog.
All right. Next up, Demos. Mystic's team ability, 55 points. Godwatch, deity, monster keywords. Quaking and Terror is his first trait. Opposing characters in 4 squares modify attack -1. Son of Ares is the second trait. Unique modifier of Demos is within 4 squares of a friendly character named Phobos. Modify their defenses +1. Tom, what do you think of Demos?
He's unplayable. Thumbs down. He's terrible. Like why is it, like at least willpower. If you're only going to give me 1 click worth playing, at least give me willpower so that I can hopefully stay on it, or some way of healing. Oh, he's not good for 55 points in my opinion. Come at me.
Yeah, unless you have some wacky high defenses and some way of just protecting him and keeping him within 4 squares. You actually have to put more work into this character, making him work in the sealed environment than he deserves. And in constructed, I'd rather be using the dune buggy.
or anyone else. At least like he's at least he gives mystics so that all your wild cards can copy the.
All right, next up, Nightwing. Batman Ally Titans team abilities, 4 range, 75 or 50 points. Batman Family, Teen Titans, and Martial Artist keywords. His improved movement is ignores elevated terrain, ignores hindering terrain. Titans Reborn trait. He's got a special attack or damage power on his first 3 clicks for 75 or his first click at 50. Leadership, free, choose one. Close combat expert, range combat expert, perplex, or outwit. Nightwing can use the chosen power until your next turn. This is just a great piece for sealed in general.
Yeah, man. Oh, 100%. Love the stealth. Choice is awesome. Incapacity's great.
Yeah. And I mean, it makes me kind of miss the Nightwing ID card a little, not gonna lie.
yeah, you're right. Like, he'd be a good in-cap, like outwit in-cap option on an ID card.
Mm-hmm. All right, next up, Duke Thomas, 35 points, Gotham City, martial artist keywords. Very unassuming dial when you look at it. We Are Robin is his trait. Friendly characters making close attacks, modify attack +1 for each other friendly character adjacent to their target is the actual errated added keyword. So basically, if a friendly character is making a close attack, they get +1 attack for each other friendly character adjacent to whoever they're attacking. So if you have like 3 guys adjacent to whoever you're attacking, and Duke Thomas happens to be on your team, that character is going to get +3 attack against that dude. Now, if Duke Thomas is part of that attack, or is in there and adjacent to that dude, that empower is going to go a long way. This is a guy who I think would actually fare better in constructed than sealed, because the sealed teams in this environment don't usually skew higher than 4, and if you're kind of like, unless you're forced combat really in the middle there, which does happen, it did happen a fair bit in my games, Duke Thomas isn't really going to get full effect. But you can actually build a team and capitalize on that a lot better in a constructed environment. That's kind of what I'm seeing with it. I don't know. What do you think, Tom?
Well, yeah, thumbs down. I agree with you. Yeah. I think he is better in constructed, although I think even in constructed he's a bit of a hard sell. I like the fact that it's not adjacent friendly characters or whatever. Like, it's just as long as they're on the map. But I don't know. It's still a hard sell at 35 points in my opinion.
Yeah. If he shared a keyword with Stegron,
yeah, well,
right there.
Yeah, well, and like he does have martial artists, which is becoming more common, but I still don't know of any good POG generators that do it, and the Penguins are on their way out and stuff. So
yeah, so Duke Thomas, find a way to get along with Iron Man and Stegron, please.
Or Starro.
Yeah, or Starro indeed. All right, next up. The Signal. This is the prime version of Duke Thomas. He's got Batman Ally team ability. He has 60 points. Batman Family, Gotham City, martial artist keywords. Probability control on the top, some hypersonic in there, some charge. Ignores hindering for movement. The Bat Shift, free until your next turn. The Signal has improved targeting, hindering, and characters within line of fire can't use stealth, including friendly characters. Metahuman amplifier, adjacent characters modify damage +1, including opposing characters. Tom, what do you think of the Signal?
I love it. Thumbs up. He's great. And also the first one who I think has some viability in constructed. I don't think I'm going to build a team around him, but I do love the fact, I mean, we're about to enter a very annoying stealth meta with the new Mandarin ring coming out. I love the fact that he just turns it off, period. So he's got the ability to ignore the hindering terrain, and then as long as he can see you, then everybody can see you, and then he becomes a secondary piece. Like, I like the idea of hypersonicking in, hoping to get some damage off. Don't even use your prob at that point. Just finish your movement, turn off everyone's stealth, get your real hitter to come and do something, and now you've got a prob backup for him, along with the damage amplification if you can place it right. So for all that, it's a thumbs up to me.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree. All right, next up, Aqualad, Jackson sorry, real names don't matter. Teen Titans team ability, 50 points. Atlantis Teen Titans keyword. He swims. He's got some TK on the start. It starts as like charge, TK, energy shield, and then close combat for the rest of the tile. Titans Reborn trait, and then working on my electrokinesis is second trait. Energy explosion within 6 range and 3 targets, but only once per game. This is a sealed better than he looks figure, but it's still a situation where you kind of have to know what to expect with him, and you're not sad that he's on your team, but you're not you're not saying, yes, Aqualad, I'm going to win, or definitely going on my team. He fits into teams, but he doesn't create teams. What do you think, Tom?
I agree. I mean, I am going to give him a thumbs down from a sealed perspective, if only because, again, he's the sort of person I want to round out my team with. But TK goes a long way. I like the fact that with Dolphin, he gets a +1 defense while he's in the water. So that plus the ESD hopefully will allow him to cross the gap a little bit on his way up the map, try to use that energy or energy explosion to surprise some people and do some damage. And then when the time is right, charge, make sure you push. So that you're landing on combat reflexes, and he just becomes a tough guy for the rest of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. His points go. His score goes up if you pull a Tempest as well. We'll talk about him later. All right, next up, figure number 13, Cyborg, Victor Stone, Titans team ability, 7 range, 2 targets, 75 or 50 points, Justice League, Teen Titans, and Robot keywords. He's got the Titans Reborn trait, and he's got a special attack on his first 3 clicks at 75 or his first click at 50, Sonic Arm Cannon, penetrating Psychic Blast. When Cyborg uses it and to target a single opposing character, he has knockback. This is a Cyborg, and he did a lot of damage when I played with him. But I also noticed that when I was playing with him, I kind of wished I had more guys that had like Riding Shot or range-based figures, because that enhancement would have gone a long way. But otherwise, like he's just good. A thumbs up and sealed for sure. Not going to see any playing constructed for sure.
Agreed, for all the same reasons. But when I did the charts, I realized just how much better 7 range running shot on 5 with a Psychic Blast and potential knockback is in this set. I'll never play him at 50 points though. I mean, he's a one-click wonder.
Yeah. All right, next up, Prez Rickard. 35 points, politician keyword. Everyone's favorite teenage president is his first trait. Prez Rickard doesn't count for or against theme teams. He's got my vote. Golden Age of America, leadership, but succeeds on a 4 to 6. When Prez Rickard uses it and succeeds, instead you may remove 1 action token each from any number of opposing characters. For each one removed, remove an action token from a friendly character within 6 squares. And this was selected by Jose Rodrigo Rosales Guerrero, the 2016 Mexican national champion. Tom, what do you think of Prez Rickard?
Oh, thumbs up everywhere.
Yeah.
Probably the best piece in the set from a pure, like, will we be seeing a lot of him perspective. 18 defend that doesn't break theme, and a leadership on 4 through 6 with some potential shenanigans. I mean, what word do you want? Pushes onto perplex. He's really good. I love the fact, like, popping, it's really not that much of a problem to pop tokens off your opposing characters. I mean, if you're going to KO them anyway, then what do you care if they're tokened or not? Also, interesting shenanigans. Devin pointed out when I was playing the Foot Elites that, like, if he had Prez Rickard on his team, he could just pop tokens off the suited henchman, and I'd never be able to push them to death. I'm like, that's a good point, Devin. So sometimes you want to be able to push people, and Prez Rickard says no, no, no. So, you know, it's really, really good. Absolutely playable. We'll see a lot of them.
100%. Super playable. Really awesome figure. And you don't mind pushing him that first click to get that perplex, because let's be honest, he's not living through a hit.
No, and he keeps the 18 defend. Like, they don't even do their usual, like, you know, tease that they would drop to a 17 defend, but with perplex and make you kind of do a Sophie's choice. Just push him. Yeah.
All right. Next up, Wonder Woman. Justice League team ability, 100 points. Amazon, Justice League, Trinity, Mystical, Warrior keywords. Leading the charge, and all the Justice Leagues have one like this that do a different thing. And when Wonder Woman makes the first attack during a turn and hits until your next turn, other friendly characters with the Justice League keyword could use Close Combat Expert. Lasso and Shield is her second trait, which gives her traded energy shield deflection, and super senses, but only against close combat attacks. Indomitable flies, General Bruiser dial, and I think did you go first on this one, or did I go first on the last one?
I think that I went first on Rickard.
Okay. Well, that said, Wonder Woman is a pretty, at best, okay kind of character. If you've pulled some Justice League in sealed, she'll work. And when she does work, you're going to find it's like she's got the power you don't want if your characters aren't in position or aren't there. And the characters you want to get this in this set, you don't want there. It's kind of what I found with it. So, unfortunately, in the sealed, hers, while great, will only work in the danger-based situation that you already have to be in to make it function. And it's 100 points is pretty steep, but it's also one of those things about the set where there's a lot of really big dudes. I have over-talked it. What do you think, Tom?
No, I agree. Is this better than Deathstroke? No.
No.
So why are you paying 100 points? It's not worth 100 points. Riddle me this. Lasso and shield. Energy shield deflection. Presumably that's the shield. How does a lasso give you super senses?
Yeah. Superman. Superman ally, 6 range, 150 points, 75 points. This is Super Dash Man, by the way. He's either 150 or 75. He's the Justice League of China, celebrity martial artist, and mystical keywords. He's got the Ministry of Self-Reliance, with the other Justice League of China guys have. Superman has protected, perplex, and probability control, but both only from characters without the Justice League of China keyword. And focus my key where I need it the most. At the beginning of your turn, choose a combat value. Modify the chosen value by +1 until your next turn. If he started at 150 points, modify by +2 instead. What do you think of Super Dash Man, Tom?
Well, this is a guy where I'm pretty sure I understand the rule correctly, and Jay's not here to correct me, but maybe you can correct me.
Yep.
If he has protected, perplex, and prob, it doesn't say opposing, so that means that he can't be targeted by his own friendlies unless
that is absolutely correct, Tom.
Boy, that's lousy.
Yeah.
First of all, he is hilariously unplayable at 75 points. He's a thumbs down for either way, but for 75 points, he's a gift to your opponent. At 150, at least he is sitting on a 20 defense, because the only thing I'm ever going to give him +2 to is his defense, unless I absolutely need more damage output. But he's still not that great.
Yeah,
I'm afraid.
If he's even up for consideration in my pool, I'm looking for figure errors immediately, so I can get a new pack.
Yeah, that, or I bring along like a white liner and try to fill in his shield, so at least he becomes indomitable. Because come on.
Jeez, yeah. All right, we're moving into the uncommons. Deathstroke is the first uncommon. 75 points, 5 range. Defiance, Assassin, Martial Artist, and Soldier keywords. Remember, we're the good guys trait. Then his second trait, once the Terminator, now the Protector. Adjacent friendly character with the Defiance keyword can use Mastermind, but only to choose Deathstroke. If Deathstroke was damaged by an opponent's attack since your last turn, modify his attack and defense by +1. And then he's got a special defense power in his first 3 clicks. The Icon Suit Kinetic Dispersal, Defend, and Toughness. He's got leadership for his first 2 clicks. He's a character I get where it's like, yes, I pulled Deathstroke, not this one.
Right? Not the one who's been defanged.
Yeah, this Deathstroke is drastically underpowered compared to his common friend. And because he only has toughness on his defense, I kind of want to let the Defiance guys take that damage.
Of course you do.
So, yeah. Because, yeah, they're not going to kill anything, and they're going to heal.
I'm happy to take 25 points off him, but not at the expense of playability. I mean, what a terrible pace.
Yeah. All right, next up, figure number 18, Jericho. Titan's team ability, 8 range, 75 or 50 points.
Break down the walls of Jericho.
Break the walls down! Titan's Reborn trait. He's got a special movement power, Contact, which gives him mind control and sidestep. When Jericho uses mind control to target a single character and hits, until your next turn, when that character attacks, all friendly characters can use Shape Change that succeeds on a 4 to 6. And then the Icon Shield at 32% of design limit is his special defense power. It's a long name for the power. Toughness, Willpower. Jericho can use Invincible instead of Toughness when attacked by a character of lower points. What do you think of just Jericho there, Tom?
Well, I love the way that Walking Woods have to deal with him being invincible. No, he's a thumbs up for sure in both sealed, and I think he has some constructive potential at 50. I'm glad from a game design perspective that they did say when you use mind control and to target a single character and hit, so that you can't do some weird shenanigans with like Moira McTaggart or something and have him target lots of people and make it so their whole team has to deal with your shape change. So I mean, that's nice from a design perspective. He'd be more playable if that weren't the case, I guess. He's really good. I really like the way that mind control works. It's a bit situational. I'm not building around him, but I think 450 points, it's worth it. And I was serious about the fact that like a lot of times you're worried about damage from Walking Woods and other similar low point poggy things, dinosaurs and Iron Avengers and all those things. So it's cool that he becomes invincible against all those things.
Absolutely. And he did shine as a part of my SEAL team. I think he was generally the last to die on the games I lost. But he really shined when he worked. And that shape change is just the most obnoxious thing, especially if you can isolate like the guy who's going to attack next turn big time. It's like, if I can get the mind control on this, you're about to have a nightmare.
Not that hard to do when you've got Perplex, a very impressive 8 range for this set,
Yeah.
and Sidestep. That's an 11 swing on that. That's good.
Yeah. And he flies, so he can sidestep and carry as well.
Yeah.
So, all right. Next up, Ravager. Teen Titans team ability, 6 range, 75 points. Teen Titans assassin, martial artist keywords. Ignores hindering and elevated terrain for movement. She's indomitable. Remember, we're getting paid. When Ravager KOs one or more opposing characters with an attack after resolutions, heal Ravager 2 clicks. Titans Reborn trait, and then she's got a special damage power on her first 3 clicks. Precognitive senses, exploit weakness, perplex, probability control, but only to reroll attacks she makes or that target her. She functioned above average for me when I played her on the weekend. And I was uncomfortable putting her on the team at first, but then you realize if you have the right map with her, the ignored, elevated, and hindering or for movement can get you some distance that people don't see coming. So she was an okay at best. I put her as some thumb sideways if it was me and I was using Tom's score. What do you think, Tom?
Oh, it's a thumbs down. It's 75 points for 5 clicks without any rollouts or reducers or anything? Come on.
But she's got perplex and prob.
That's true. She can perplex up her defense. It makes it, slightly harder to KO her in one shot. I like the fact that she heals when she KOs somebody, but healing is irrelevant when she gets one-shotted by everybody.
Want to go back to that whole, she survives 3 damage. And she's got close combat
Oh, yeah.
on that. So
I don't think she'll die, but she doesn't survive it twice.
No, she doesn't survive 2 attacks, but she's on average she survived quite a few attacks. So
she's a decent 60-point dial. It's amazing what a difference the fact that she's 75 points cost.
Also, I think she also shined a little because I did have a Teen Titans team ability and I was healing her with Jericho a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that worked.
That helps.
Yeah. There's again, I say thumb sideways because there's a lot of factors in the set alone that make her a little bit more playable.
Right.
All right, next up, Terra again. Titans team ability, 6 range, 50 points. Hive, Teen Titans, and Spy keywords. Ignores hindering for movement. Traitor trait. Her trait is Traitor. Shape change. Once per force, when Terra is KO'd, do not remove her from the game. Instead, after resolutions, place her in a square. She lasts occupied on her starting click. She's now friendly to an opponent's force. She is scored each time she is KO'd. Titans Reborn trait. And she's got a special attack power on her first 3 clicks, which is TK and Quake. What do you think of this Terra?
I don't know yet. Well, the Traitor trait on Alex Wilder is so interesting. But the thing about Alex Wilder is he's a short dial and he can't really attack. Obviously, Terra's not nearly as decent as a support piece as compared to Alex Wilder. But, boy, she's an annoying tie-up piece with shape change and toughness and a deep enough dial that she's not easy to take out. Excuse me, and the ability to move through most of the things that are standing between her and who she wants to get in the way of. And then I don't know exactly what I want to do with her. I mean, I want to damage her, but do I necessarily want to KO her right away, or do I want to leave her towards the end and hope to KO her at a strategic time when having her join my force will be more valuable to me? I mean, she really makes your opponent think. And of course, there's the fact that if you get to KO it back, she's just going to come back to you again. So, she's very interesting. I don't know what to say. She's a thumb sideways.
Yeah. I put a thumbs question mark.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, for 50 points, she's real. Like from a seal perspective, she's good enough. Yeah. Just what you see is what you got to be a thumbs up for me. But I think she might have potential beyond that because Trader is so interesting. But I don't know. It could really backfire.
Mm-hmm. It is a big dial for 50 points, though.
Yeah, it sure is.
All right, next up, Kid Flash. Once again, 75 points, Central City, Defiance, Speedster keywords. Remember, we're the good guys trait, Speed Force trait. When Kid Flash moves at least 1 square and hits 1 or more adjacent characters after resolutions, give him a speed token. Modify speed +1 for each speed token. And then he's got a special attack power. Free tornado rides for everyone. Free. Oh, he flies, which is part of it. And then free. Choose 1. Force Blast, Smoke Cloud, or Telekinesis. Until your next turn, Kid Flash can use the chosen power, and may remove a speed token to activate it as free instead. So, like, you can take a free action, choose one of the powers, remove a speed token, and then your use of Force Blast or Smoke Cloud or Telekinesis is free.
Yes, you are correct.
Yeah. No, sorry.
Yes.
I was going to pass it on to you, then I realized it's my turn. And he's pretty good for 75 points with Hypersonic, 2 rollouts on the first turn, or first click, and then the next 2 clicks he's got the probability control to possibly get the damage he needs to heal that 1 click from his attacks. Overall, he's pretty impressive. Only 1 extra click on the other one, and the late dial scares the crap out of me. But for the most part, overall, one of the better Defiance guys, I think. What do you think, Tom?
I agree. Thumbs up for me. I really like I love the fact that you get you get your Speed Force token after resolutions, and then you could take your free action to activate your free tornado rides. I mean, that's pretty great. I mean, when you consider that he can TK himself, that if you go out there with Hypersonic and hit with an attack and then TK yourself, then that gives him an 18 roundabout swing. That's real impressive. To say nothing of the fact that you could also just go next to somebody, and rather than even trying to break away, you just force blast them off of an elevation or into a wall or something. Smoke Cloud's useful. So I mean, he is a bit rich for 75 points, but the 2 rollouts make it so that I don't think your opponent even wants to bother attacking him. The only real downside being that he doesn't have improved movement, so you're not going to be able to hide out in the hindering while you're doing all these cool things.
Yeah.
But still decent.
Well, I mean, he does have flight with that special power.
Oh, duh, you're right. He flies. So I take it back. No, definitely an unqualified thumbs up.
All right. Next up, the Power Girl. 115 or 75 points. Defiant, Star, Labs, Scientist keywords. Remember, we're the good guys trait. Larger than life, which gives her super strength. This is a trait. Super strength free. Choose giant or colossal until your next turn. Power Girl has a chosen symbol. Modifies her combat values by +1. And then she's got a special damage power on her first 3 at 115, or her first click at 75. Choose Outwit or Perplex until the next turn. Power Girl can use a chosen power. Tom?
Well, here's one thing. I mean, okay, so she's a thumbs down. But and I really wish she had willpower. But I do like the idea of playing her at 115 points, surprising your opponent by perplexing up your movement, turning yourself into a colossal. You're now charging 7 squares, and you're attacking 3 squares with giant reach. So now you've just charged your movement values worth of swing. That's pretty cool. That's neat. Yeah. But no, she's not good enough to be worth her point values, unfortunately, which is too bad because I think that she's a neat piece.
Yeah. All right. I don't have much to add on to that. I don't have much to add on to that at all. All right. So next up we have Steel. Justice League team ability, 90 points, Justice League robot keywords. He's got the Haywood Legacy trait. He's also got a special defense power on his first 3 clicks. Behind me, people. Impervious, free until your next turn. Steel can use invulnerability instead of impervious, and he has adjacent friendly characters modified defense +1. In action, that is a super strong Steel power. That is amazingly strong, especially when you consider, like you pointed out earlier, the everything skews a little higher in the attack value. You really need that extra defense value coming from this guy. And that dial is fat. It's PHAT and FAT. It's huge. And very difficult to get through. You don't kind of roll the dice and walk away from this guy at any point. This is a lot of dial to get through, and he definitely performed in the game I played against him. Also note, we figured this out later on in the game. It's whenever Steel is hit with a close attack, doesn't necessarily have to do damage. As I discovered the hard way, that counts mind control.
That's interesting. It also means that if he rolls out of impervious, it still works.
That's right. Yeah.
Neat. Yeah, he's a thumbs up for me as well. He's a very deep dial. He falters hard against Outwit, and he and his prime companion are amongst many other examples in the set. Great examples of why if you pull an Outwitter, you should try to put it on your team. Otherwise, though, definitely good.
Yeah. All right. Next up, Citizen Steel, which is the prime of Steel. Yes. Comes in at 110 or 35 points. Haywood Legacy trait as well. To Fight Gog is his other trait. Opposing characters with Colossal can't be placed within 3 squares of Citizen Steel. If Citizen Steel costs 110 points, it can't be placed within 4 squares instead. Can't knock me down. It's kind of my thing. Is a special defense power with his first 4 squares at 110. Invincible. Citizen Steel can't be moved or placed by opposing effects. His 35-point dial is the last 3 clicks. Tom, what do you think of Citizen Steel?
Well, we talked about him on the show before as far as his functionality in the constructed environment is concerned. I think for 35 points, he certainly has some decent playability. I think for 110 points, he's over costed. In a sealed setting, it's a thumbs up in both cases.
Absolutely. Do agree. And we're all looking for like a way to deal with Colossals.
Yeah, no, it's very cool. I think that it's a bit of a shame that you'll have to place fairly carefully in order to protect anyone else from retaliation if you're playing him at 35. But he's good enough dial at 35 that I think it's playable as it is.
Mm-hmm. All right, next up, Veronica Kale. 35 points, Godwatch, and Scientist keyword. You are no better than I as the first trait. Before force construction, if a character on your force has Amazon or deity keyword, Veronica Kale gains that keyword. Godwatch is her second trait. If an opposing character has the Amazon or deity keyword, friendly characters with the Godwatch keyword modify their combat values by +1. And then her special damage power is Crush Wonder Woman and her legacy. Outwit, Perplex. When Veronica Kale uses Outwit to target a character with the deity keyword, she may choose 2 powers instead of 1. When Veronica Kale uses Perplex to target a character with the deity keyword, she may choose 2 different combat values instead of 1. That's a lot of wording on a very meh character. Outwit and Perplex is great and sealed, so I got to give her a boost on that. All the extras, like the Godwatch trait, the you're no better than I thing, and like the targeting with a deity or Amazon. Oh no, it's just deity for the Outwit and Perplex.
Right.
It's not going to come up that frequently, so don't bank on it. But 35 points for Perplex and Outwit, not bad. It's just a shame that she backloads her stealth, I think, is a big problem. I don't know. What are your thoughts here, Tom?
I'm going to give a less qualified thumbs up because she's 35 points for Outwit and Perplex. Even if it means that your opponent decides that they want to overextend themselves, if they're ignoring your 150-point character because they really hate that Outwit and Perplex and want to score 35 points, then you're already winning the psychological game.
Yeah.
She's, like you said, a lot of words and a lot of reading for basically a piece. Yeah, she's 35 points for Perplex, but that's all I need to know.
Yeah. All right. Next up, Deimos' brother Phobos. Mystics team ability, 55 points. Godwatch, deity, monster, paralyzed with fear. Opposing characters in 4 squares can't automatically break away. Decrease the results of breakaway roll by -1. Unique modifier, if Phobos is within 4 squares of a friendly character named Deimos, modify both their attack by +1.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Another terrible piece.
Please see Deimos.
Yeah, exactly.
Billy Baston is next up. 40 points, Fawcett City, Justice League International, Justice Society, Mystical, and Reporter keyword. He's also playable at 20, if I remember correctly, right?
You are correct.
Yeah. His special movement power, the world needs to know your sins. At the beginning of your turn, you may choose an opposing character within 4 squares in line of fire. Until your next turn, that character can't be given free actions. And then special defense power, Shazam! Stop, but only once per game. If this click was revealed by damage from an opponent's attack, you paid 40 points for Billy Bastion after resolutions, replace him with figure number 37A, Shazam, on click number 6. This game, that Shazam can't be healed above click number 6, and when KO'd, instead scores 40 points. Tom, what do you think of Billy Bastion? Because I'm not wasting your turn on Phobos.
No. 2 thumbs up. Obviously, if you happen to be able to pull him with Shazam and sealed, then that's a grand slam. But 20 points is amazing for this piece. He's very playable. He's both in constructed and in sealed. I think for fairly obvious reasons. There's a lot of things that make him pretty great. We've been into it. I don't really see the reason why I need to dig into it. If you don't know why, better learn the game.
All right. Next up. Colonel Poison, 5 range, 40 points, Godwatch, Scientist, Soldier keyword. Relax, it hurts more if you try to resist it. Poison, protected poison. When Colonel Poison uses poison, damage dealt is penetrating, and all characters damaged this way can use Battle Fury until your next turn. Free, choose an adjacent friendly character. That character can use Battle Fury until your next turn. She starts with leadership. She has that special poison for the first 3 clicks. She has poison at the end of her dial. very aptly named Colonel Poison, if you ask me.
Yes.
And she's just generally really good for sealed. Like Poison is a good power to have, coupled with leadership, coupled with stealth, so that you can get her there eventually. I believe this was Marina Maru. She looked like a she. And just I like this character for sealed, to be brutally honest. I don't know. What do you think, Tom?
I like it. I like it for sealed. I like it maybe for constructed. Battle Fury, so useful. The Joker gas is soon going to cycle out, and all we're going to be left with is a ton of pieces that have shape change and a ton of other pieces that can go get symbiotes or Loki staffs or Mandarin rings or other sources of shape change. Boy, there's a lot of that out there. There's also a fair amount of mind control out there. Incapacity isn't even that uncommon since people know that Lockjaw's out there. So Battle Fury goes a long way. I love the fact that you can hand it to friendlies. For 40 points, she's leadership. She's hard to kill. You don't want to get next to her because you'll get poisoned. And in the meantime, she's going to hand out Battle Fury. All that protected by stealth with a couple of pretty good keywords in Scientist and Soldier. I think that maybe there's a bit of outside potential there. Good piece.
I mean, I'm holding tryouts for new scientists. So
yeah, no, she provides something that is unique and distinct, and that's always worth a close look.
All right. Next up, Tempest. Titans team ability, 6 range, 75 points. Atlantis Teen Titans mystical keywords. Water Wizard, freeze it or boil it. Now, this dial is very unassuming until you read this power. Smoke Cloud as free, but Tempest generates water markers instead of hindering markers. Also worth noting, they're still follow all rules for Smoke Cloud. So they will still hand out your -1 because Smoke Cloud doesn't care if they're hindering terrains. They're a Smoke Cloud.
Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, I read it twice and I was like, I'm pretty sure this still hands out the -1 attack. Next, free. Choose an opposing character occupying water area terrain within range and roll a d6. On a 3 to 4, give that character an action token. On a 5 to 6, deal that character 1 penetrating damage. And then he's got the Titans Reborn trait. He's got Perplex to start and Power, Leadership towards the end. I love him. He beat the crap out of me in a game, and I fell in love. I was like, oh man, he's beating me up. Oh.
Yeah, relax. It hurts more if you resist it.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think there, Tom?
I agree. I mean, your orgiastic enthusiasm perhaps exceeds mine, but all the same, yeah, well, that trait goes a long way. And it better, because otherwise I don't think he's worth 75 points. But with it, he's always an 18 defense from range, basically. There's absolutely no reason not to always be occupying water when you're Tempest, unless you just can't place it down. So, no, I think he's with Perplex as well, so let's just call it a 19 defense. Yeah, real good.
Yeah. All right, next up, Mr. Terrific. JSA team ability, 70 points. Justice Society, Terrifics, Celebrity, and Scientist keyword. T-Spheres is a straight free. Generate a T-Sphere bystander, maximum 3, or place any number of his T-Spheres adjacent to him. This is what a T-Sphere looks like. It's tiny, 16 defense, 5 movement with sidestep. So a special attack power on first 3 clicks. Calculate the optimal angles. Precision Strike. When Mr. Terrific makes a close attack, he may target a character within 6 squares that's adjacent to his T-Sphere, regardless of adjacency. And then the T-Spheres hover mode, which means you don't have to break away from them. Constant data feed, perplex, but only to target the character that generates this bystander, and only to choose a combat value that hasn't already been chosen by T-Spheres for this power this turn. Tom, what do you think of Mr. Terrific?
Maybe I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Nod
if you can, because I can't hear you.
Uh-oh.
Okay, better invite me again. I think that's doing that thing.
Will do. It's doing that thing. In the meantime, I like Mr. Terrific a lot, just for everything he does. That distance, the ability to make a close attack at distance with, he's got Outwit as well. Prob, he can get Perplex from T-Spheres. A couple of the T-Spheres that he brought to him, you send one out, make a close attack with him. I like him. I like him a lot. What do you think, Tom?
Did you mention already that the T-Spheres have the backwards fist, whatever that's called?
The autonomous?
Autonomous, yes.
Yeah, I did not mention that, and that's not actually here. So thanks for catching that. Makes it even better.
That makes them much better. He pops them out. They pop it next to him, and then they can sidestep and then move 5. That's pretty awesome. They can perplex them back up. I mean, I still think he's a bit of a hard sell for 70 points, but he's very close. I think he deserves more attention because I think he does a lot of cool things.
I think the perplex from other T-spheres goes a long way towards making him seem just a little bit better. Because you could have one T-sphere adjacent to a dude who you're going to make your close attack with, and then you get 2 T-spheres next to him who are going to pump your stats up with Perplex.
And like, you know, it's not characters may not have to break away from them, but they still can't shoot out of adjacency. So they're definitely still useful for that, if nothing else. And the fact that he's got stealth helps a lot, along with being cranked up. So I do think that is he terrific? I don't know, but he's pretty decent.
All right, next up, Artemis. Outsiders team ability, 6 range, 100 points. Amazon, Outlaws, and Warriors. Was that a for the Outsiders team ability?
Yes, I love the Outsiders team ability. I think it's my favorite.
Dark Trinity is the first trait. When Artemis attacks, modify attack +1 for each other friendly character with the Outlaws keyword adjacent to the target. In set, that's going to be Red Hood and the super rare Prime Bazaar. I'll give them less is their second trait. When Artemis hits 1 or more characters after resolutions, roll a d6. On a 4 to 5, give a hit character an action token. On a 6, give all hit characters an action token. And then she's got a special attack power on everything except her first and last click. The Dance of War. Blades, Claws, Fangs. Close. Make any number of close attacks, each targeting a different opposing character. Tom, what do you think of Artemis?
She's a thumb sideways for me because she had 100 points. There's something about that triple-digit barrier that makes it hard for me to swallow. Admittedly, from a sealed perspective, I think that there's a lot of potential here, though I don't relish the fact that you have to get off your double damage reduction in order to make lots and lots of attacks. I wish there was some way of getting there in indirect fashion, but there isn't. And otherwise, I don't know. I think she'll be swarmed. She'll be outnumbered. But if they don't take her out quickly, she'll turn that outnumbering to her advantage. So that's kind of cool. So, I mean, Outsiders kind of puts it over the edge to me. I guess I'm going to lean towards a thumbs up, but it's a tentative one.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with that. All right, next up, Batman. Batman has the Justice League and Outsiders team ability.
There it is.
5 range, 2 targets, 85 points. Batman Family, Gotham City, Justice League, Outsiders, Trinity, and Detective keyword. His leading the charge gives your Justice League keyword characters protected outwit. He does that as a second trait. Lines of fire drawn to Batman are blocked unless the line of fire crosses only unoccupied clear squares. Use your momentum against you as his first 3 clicks of movement. Charge, leap, climb, sidestep. When Batman breaks away, you may choose an opposing character he broke away from. If you do, after resolutions, place that character up to 2 squares away and within line of fire from its current square. His dial length scares the hell out of me because of that point investment. But he is so hard to get a handle on too, right? Because like if you're in hindering, you gotta
get next to him.
Yeah, you really do have to get next to him. If you're next to him, he's got combat reflexes, and if you try to outwit him, he's likely going to be in hindering. I got bad news for you. He's going to be in hindering. You're not getting the outwit on that combat reflexes. So there is a fair amount of perplex to help you get the attacks up, but he's got Outsiders, so if you're a threat to him, he's going to Outsiders you.
Yeah, like, he's a perfect representation of Batman, because it does feel like he's kind of thought it all out. He's like, well, you know, I'll be hard to hit if you get next to me, and if you want to crank up your values, then I'll Outsider you, and if you try to shoot me, then I'll hide from you, and if there's a power that you can use to try to get the advantage on me, then I'll outwit it. Like, he feels like he's thought of everything. Yeah. Until you just hit. And then he goes down hard. So I have to agree. I have to give him a sideways thumb, because I think at 85 points, I would play him if I didn't have a better choice. But I don't know, man. It's such an investment, and it's just the type of thing where you feel like such an idiot when you do all this stuff, and then some clod just kind of goes, all right, well, I guess I'm just going to charge and try to attack him. Oh, I rolled a 12. He's dead. No.
Yeah, exactly. It depends on how much I've had to drink either on the day or the day before. Right. That'll increase my bravery level towards playing him, and that's generally how brave am I feeling is my opinion of this Batman.
Good representation of Batman, actually. The more I think about it, the more I think that's a good Batman.
That it is very good Batman. It's a hard investment to swallow, you know.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, The Flash. The Dash Flash.
The Dash Flash.
The Dash Flash. 100 points for 75 points. Justice League China Speedster Spy. Ignores elevated and water for movement. So she's got a problem with bushes. Gotcha. Ministry of Self-Reliance trait. Then her other trait, borrow some of your momentum. When the Flash moves at least one square and hits one or more adjacent characters, after resolutions, give a hit character a stolen speed token. Characters with stolen speed tokens modify speed and attack -1. The Flash modifies speed and attack +1 for each stolen speed token on opposing characters. When an opposing character is given a move action, after resolutions, remove all stolen speed tokens from them. What do you think of the Flash, Tom?
This is another one of these examples where I feel like there's a lot of text and a lot of interesting stuff that is trying to like wave its hand in front of you so that you're not noticing you're spending 100 points for 6 clicks that has no damage evasion at all off the top, or 75 points for a 4-click dial. I mean, 2 rollers is great, but 4 clicks, I have to give it a thumbs down. I think that it's interesting. I really like the borrowing momentum thing and the way it disrupts other teams, but I can't get over what a point investment this is for so few clicks. It's just going to die. It's like Batman, but worse. It's just going to die.
Yeah. And there's no amount of bravery I can get to make me put this over a lot of the other characters. I mean, there are situations where I'll play this character, but there's not a lot of them.
No.
Not a lot.
No, especially not like when you put them onto like a speedster or spy, I guess, onto a speedster or spy theme team. They're not going to be able to prop control her.
Or perplex her.
Oh, it's worded. It's a real shame.
All right, next up, Superboy. Superman ally and Titans team ability. 6 range, 75 points. Kryptonian Metropolis Teen Titans. His first trait, the Super Sun. Superboy can use the team abilities of friendly characters within 4 squares unless they're uncopyable. Titans Reborn trait. And then his last trait, 3 traits on a 75-point character with this dial. Yeah, well, I'm taller than you. When a friendly character named Robin hits, after resolutions, modify Superboy's speed and attack by +1 this turn. Because that's what this Superboy with 14 movement and charge needs. More speed.
That's what I was thinking.
Look, if you're playing this character in sealed, you're attacking first. It's just how this goes. I had 2 perplexes on my team. There's no way I wasn't attacking first with this Superboy, and that's kind of what I loved about it. Plus, he soaks so much damage if they don't have any outwit. That you just kind of go, whoa, great. Even if he dies, so much got devoted to him that there are actions that you're not taking on generally not as good characters. Plus, he's got the Teen Titans team ability to give him that little extra longevity from other dudes, because in this sealed environment, everybody with the Teen Titans ability seems to have the Titans Reborn trait. So, yeah, Superboy is a really good sealed character, in my opinion, just because so many of the numbers are so high. And that's really what puts him over. Like, when we look at Power Girl and we go, it's because this guy just brings the gas. Like, it's Power Girl on a gas pedal. Plus, he's got 6 range with the Superman ally team ability. So if you're not charging, you're shooting Batman because you're not hindered. Is
Right?
it hindered line? I got to double check that Batman wording. Hold on. Lines of fire are blocked unless the line of fire crosses unoccupied clear squares. Jeez Louise. So, like, you could be crossing a square. Never mind. Okay, so he doesn't do anything against Batman.
No, he doesn't.
No. But he does do a lot of things against any other stuff.
Against Batman and other allies.
Yeah. Exactly.
I agree. I'll get a lot of mileage out of the fact. I like the fact that his defense powers keep switching, so that if somebody outwits is invincible, but it can only deal like 2 or 3 damage to him, then they're still dealing with a vulnerable. Like, I kind of think that's cool. Admittedly, for me, he is a thumb sideways, if only because, again, he's a hard sell at 5 clicks for 75 points. He's so outwittable. But the hope is that he's KOing the outwit before it's going to be a problem. Wish he had traded super strength.
Man, so did I.
But well, he'll have a light object in hand because he's probably not getting carried.
Yep.
So let's assume that he's moving at least 7, possibly 8 squares and hitting somebody for 5 damage. Hopefully, that's dealing with your outwit. Decent piece.
Yeah. All right. Next up, Orphan. Batman ally. Team ability, 4 range, 2 targets, 75 points. Batman family, Gotham City, League of Assassins, assassin, and martial artist keywords. Ignores elevated and hindering from movement. Traded with a blade forged in the flames of hatred, honed in darkness. Bleed towards your face and roll. Modify attack and defense by +1 for each adjacent opposing character. Then she's got special attack power on her first 3 clicks. Conflict is her element. Quake, precision strike, but may use it with any number of targets. So she can precision strike with her Quake. She can precision strike with 2 targets with her 4 range. Tom, what do you think of Orphan?
I don't love it.
But you don't get it.
No, I wish she cost 70 points. Like, I don't know. It's a hard pill to swallow, but I guess you do have a rollout, and you've got stealth, and you're moving through lots of different types of terrain so that you can get surrounded by people in order to crank up your own defense. And then you're precision striking them all, or you're quaking them all. It's still a thumbs down. I can't do it.
Well, it does have 1 more click than Superboy, if that helps.
It doesn't have Invincible, though.
It doesn't have Invincible. She does not. She's got Batman ally.
She's indomitable. Yeah. Fine. She's a thumbs up. Play her on your team.
Here we go. Got him. We got him, guys.
Yeah, fair.
All right. Next up, Superwoman. Superman ally, team ability, 6 range, 125 points. Metropolis, reporter, scientist. Keyword, I can absorb energy is the first trait. Steal energy, but with range attacks instead of close attacks. Get behind me is her second trait. Superwoman and adjacent friendly characters have protected energy, explosion, and pulse wave. Cool. Manipulate all forms of energy. When Superwoman is damaged by a range attack, give her a number of energy tokens equal to the damage taken. Free, remove X energy tokens to either heal X-1 clicks or modify damage. Plus X when making a range attack this turn. She doesn't have willpower, which is that first thing that makes me go, ugh. But then she got the steal energy, which is, based on the timing of things, you push with the steal energy, you immediately take the pushing damage, then you heal that steal energy that you just did so long as you hit. So she can keep herself, as long as she's hitting, she's kind of got willpower. If that makes any sense?
Yeah.
And, she's really hard to take down because when you do the damage to her, if she decides to instead lead with, okay, I'm going to heal, and then I'm going to go attack and steal energy, you're just going to be frustrated to heck with it.
She gets it all back.
Yeah.
Like, that's really good. And she forces your opponent to make a choice of what they want to do with their outwit. Like, do you want to outwit all that reduction, or do you want to outwit the damage special that's getting her all the healing back? I mean, that's a Sophie's choice.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, and it's very unassuming because you look at it and go, no, Indomitable. She's Indomitable. Don't kid yourself.
So you're going to play her in Constructed then?
No, hell's no. Sealed.
Yeah, it's a shame. She costs 125 points. I want to get so excited about this dial until I see the point cost.
I'm already playing with a 125-point scientist.
Right?
130 technically, but...
Yeah, and he does a lot more than she does. So.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, sadly.
Something about the rarity.
Thumbs up and Constructed. I think that she is playable, absolutely. You got to get next to her. If you're getting make sure you build a team around her, acknowledging the fact that your opponent has to get next to her, and then make sure they regret it.
Yeah, absolutely. And in Constructed, there's so many ways you can just make her be not adjacent to an opposing character anymore. It's like, all of a sudden, I'm over here. Wait, what?
Yeah, or just Green Arrow her to death in one shot with a little bit of help.
Yeah. Is it 1, 2? Yeah, you can do it.
Yeah, well, you'll need a perplex in there somewhere, but that's it.
Or an enhancement of some sorts, yeah.
You'll get it. Like, she's only 25 points away from, like, the Chase Captain Marvel when you think about it. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
All right, next up, Dolphin. 4 range, 2 targets, 30 points, Atlantis, Forgotten Heroes. Keywords, triggered mutation, free, turn Dolphin's dial to the same click number of a different color. So it's going to be like blue and red dial numbers on that. Special movement power on one of the halves of the dial. On the run from the authorities. Charge plasticity. When Dolphin uses charge, if she occupies water terrain, she does not half her speed. Thoughts on this one there, Tom?
I like it. 30 points. Thumbs up. Well, first of all, in sealed, it's pretty much an auto play. 2 double rollouts with a high defense, even higher in water, for 30 points, who then turns into somebody who, again, in water, charges 10 squares and uses blades with Battle Fury and invulnerability. I mean, come on. The real question is this playable in Constructed? And the answer is I don't know yet, because the keywords aren't great. It's hard to imagine, like, a Dolphin or a couple dolphins on a team. It's not terribly hard to imagine like 6 dolphins on a team, though. So I don't know. Pretty neat.
Dolphin and Tempest, great
So
bedfellows.
lot of output for 30 points. I'm really impressed, and a little bit of range just in case you want it, like dual target incapacitate. Yeah, I don't know why it is that like look at how much economy this is for 30 points. What a great piece.
I also want to point out that I think Jeff from New York was onto something by playing a Giganto Atlantis theme team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that there is a potential there. The problem with Dolphin really is, to me, like the effectiveness just grows and grows as they increase. So I would be looking for a new kind of build, but I think there's potential.
Yeah. Atlantis always finds this way to get a bunch of little dudes with the Atlantis keyword to just blast your keyword theme numbers way up.
It helps you win map. Unfortunately, I don't think Flashpoint Flood is one of the legal WizKids tournament series maps, right? Didn't we establish it isn't?
I'm not 100% sure.
I think it's not, which is too bad, because that would go a long way. Because again, it might be worth having as a big old bunch of dolphins, but I don't know. You'd run into actions as well, so you have to start thinking about that.
All right, next up, Shazam! Justice League and Mystics team ability, Fawcett City, Justice League International, Deity, and Mystical keywords. Wisdom of Solomon is the first trait. When Shazam starts the game, choose one. Outwit, opposing probability control, pulse wave, mind control. This game, Shazam has protected X, where X is the chosen power. Then Power of Zeus. At the end of your turn, if Shazam has not been moved or placed this turn, give him a Zeus's Might token. Modify Shazam's defense +1 for each Zeus's Might token he has. When Shazam moves or is placed, remove all Zeus's Might tokens. And then he's got a special attack power on the first 3 clicks if you're playing at 200 points. Thunderous Strike. Quake. Shazam may use it at no cost instead of a close attack while using hypersonic speed. I was very close to using Shazam in my sealed pulls. Very close.
Really? You pulled Shazam?
I did. And I decided, remember when you said bigger dude or more attacks?
Right.
I went with more attacks.
That's fair.
So
yeah.
And when I looked at a lot of the teams I was playing against, I didn't regret it. But that being said, he's not necessarily an auto play, but if you're comfortable with him and you maybe have a little bit of extra perplex to go with him, or any number of extra things, you look at your opponent's team, you wonder what you're gonna have to deal with, and you say, no, you can't outwit me. So
yep.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think it's a pretty hard sell for 200 points. I think for 100 points in a sealed setting, for 100 points, it's thumbs up for me. It might get outvoted, as it did in your case, because you've got enough other things that you think can do more efficient work. But absolutely playable at 100 points. I guess still very much a close consideration, even if it doesn't end up on the team. But I think 200 is a bit too rich.
Agreed. All right, next up, the prime of Shazam, Black Adam. Mystics and Quintessence team ability, 3 range, 200 or 100 points. Injustice Society, Justice Society, Secret Society of Supervillains, Mystical Ruler Warrior. Why does he have all the wordiest keywords?
A member of many societies.
Improved movement, ignores and destroys blocking terrain. Swiftness of Haru is his other trait. Super Senses, so he's traded Super Senses on top of the dial that we have. And then free, roll a d6, move Black Adam up to X, where X is the result. What do you think of Black Adam, Tom?
Oh, I really like him at 100. I mean, the big difference between him and Shazam. Absolutely. Had you pulled Black Adam instead of Shazam, I would hope you would have played Black Adam. Because for 100 points, he's a steal. For 200 points, I think he's a bit rich. He's still real good, but again, at 200, he feels more like a balanced piece. And I probably wouldn't play him unless the rest of my pulls really blew. But at 100 points, I think he's playable both in sealed and constructed. So it's a 2 thumbs up for me.
Yeah, agreed 100%. All right, next up, Beast Boy. Titans team ability, 60 points, Doom Patrol, Teen Titans, and Animal keywords. My parents turned me into a green monkey to cure me. Now here we are, is his trait. Free, choose 1 animal, and Beast Boy can use the corresponding effects until your next turn. Eagle, which gives him Precision Strike, Flying, and Tiny. Gorilla, Super Strength, Quake, ignores elevated terrain for movement. Octopus, Flurry, Plasticity, Aquatic. T-Rex, Blades, Claws, Fangs, Battle Fury, Giant Size, and he's got the Titans Reborn trait as well. Beast Boy is good and sealed. He is aptly named Beast Mode. Especially if you get in close and you start octopusing. GG.
It's awesome.
Yeah, he's really good. And you know, you got a shape change problem, and he's 2 scores away, and they've outwitted your charge. You're a T-Rex. You're a T-Rex. He's so flexible, and this kind of flexibility is really strong in sealed. Tom?
I agree with everything you said. For 60 points, what a steal! Sealed and constructed. 2 thumbs up as well.
Yeah, I feel like this animal team is almost there and constructed.
It's
almost
getting there.
We need that Alyosha level bump, and then boom. All right, next up, Bumblebee. Titans team ability, 5 range, 2 targets, 75 or 50 points. Doom Patrol, Star Labs, Teen Titans, Armor, and Scientist keywords. Titans Reborn trait, and then she's got a special movement power on her first 4 clicks at 75 or first 2 at 50. Buzzed ya, running shot, free until your next turn, hypersonic speed and tiny size, and modified damage -1. Tom, what do you think of Bumblebee?
I think I'm going to give it a thumbs down. I mean, I love the fact that you can get the hypersonic and tiny, but the loss of damage really hurts because the incapacitate won't work with your hypersonic. Off the top, you're 75. She's one of the few that I would play at 75 before I play her at 50, but I would not play her before that. She's just not that great.
She's okay at best. In fact, I think I don't use the Buzz G to get the hypersonic speed. I use it to get the tiny on the defense.
Yeah, I agree. You use it for tiny so you can get carried around and get a defense bonus. And maybe you hope that means that at 50 points you're not going to get one-shotted, but you will.
Yeah, I think I saw her played at 75 in sealed, and the guy playing him running shot or moved the first turn, then running shot pushed, now had outwit, and that's really how that worked out for her.
It's good, except that then she gets hit again, and she's way down her dial.
Yeah. All right, next up. Raven, Mystics and Teen Titans team abilities, 5 range, 65 or 50 points. Teen Titans monster and mystical keywords, Titans Reborn trait, and then special movement power, traveling through my soul self, phasing teleport, stealth, passenger 3, but only to carry characters that share a keyword with her, regardless of the flight symbol, and special damage power on her first 3 at 65 or first click at 50, imparting my soul self to others, perplex, probability control, and support. Here's your if you've got a Titans team building in your packs, Raven's going on it. Plain and simple. Almost worth it at 65, but I'd lean the 50 direction, to be brutally honest. But at the same time, you know, if those 2 extra clicks can go a long way in the sealed in this one, I think. It's also an extra set of damage that they might have to take from your Mystics team ability. So consider that as well. But I like her. I like her for both sealed and definitely like her for constructed. Goblin King, it was nice knowing you, buddy.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that she's one of those rare examples of a piece that's perhaps better in constructed than in sealed. If she's playable in both, I think 50 points is always kind of your winner. 65 points, all she really gains is survivability, and there are usually better uses for 15 points than that if we're talking constructed. In sealed, maybe you want it. But anyway, she's a thumbs up for sure. She's a real good piece.
All right, next up, Cyclone. This figure made Jay weep, and I love it. Just because of the way it was made. 4 range, 2 targets, 50 points, Justice Society keyword, Justice Society team ability. Blown away is her trait. Force Blast and Telekinesis once per turn when Cyclone uses either. After resolution, she may use the other one at no cost, but only to target the same opposing character. She must still be adjacent to use Force Blast. I kind of understand Jay's cry. Sorry, Tom. What do you think of Cyclone? I didn't know what to think either. So
yeah, I don't know either. Pretty good opening stats for 50 points. The thing I'm trying to figure out is once per turn when she uses either. So what happens, like, because Force Blast is supposed to give you passive knockback. So does that count as using it?
That's been determined to not be an active use of Force Blast.
Well, that's too bad. That would make her slightly nicer, perhaps. And you can't even do that. You can't even like TK some. Well, of course, because you wouldn't be attacking somebody. Yeah.
Here's a situation in which I see it works. You're at a distance, and I see that there's a building I can knock you off of. So I try to TK you over to where I can knock you off of the building. or into
Which
the
has got to
wall.
be next to you.
Yes. Well, that's why I'm using the TK to do. I'm using the
Yes.
TK to put you in that position, then knock you off the building. Or
That's situational.
or you're next to a wall and I'm next to you and I knock you back into the wall and then I TK you out of the danger zone. Really, it's super situational, and it's why it's only a 50-point character, I think.
All right, here's what we say. Thumb sideways often for me means it depends on what else you pull, because an 18D with Justice Society is cool. So if you can make that use of it, I think that otherwise she earns her points. Otherwise, nah.
I mean, ultimately, she is traded TK.
It's true. TK is really good.
You don't necessarily have to get both uses, is I think what it comes down to.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
All right, next up.
Sturdy 8 attack on her left click there.
A sturdy walk to Raven. She's got.
Right? Yeah, pretty much.
Actually, it's a rare, so you're probably not getting both. You're pulling lucky if that happened. Not really lucky when it comes down to it. Adriana Tomaz, Mystic's team ability, 4 range, 65 points, deity and mystical keyword. Elemental control is her trait. Adriana Tomaz can't be knocked back. When she clears action tokens at least 1, you may heal her 1 click.
Cool.
Wind manipulation, which she has on her last 4 clicks, which is on attack, it looks like.
Yeah, it is on attack. Yeah. That's a misprint.
Force Blast, telekinesis. Once per turn, when Adriana uses either, she may use the other one at no cost, but only to target the same opposing. So it's basically a very similar situation run to in Cyclone, but where Cyclone has it as a trait, Adriana Tomaz has it as a special attack power in the last 4 clicks. And I kind of go on the same level of conversation we had just now with Cyclone, except for the fact that she's more obviously a TK character who I don't want to necessarily push, because that range combat expert on the first click is super potent looking, but she also have 15 more points than Cyclone, so
she'll heal it back.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about it. Like you don't mind pushing her because she'll heal it back. It's just a shame she doesn't gain any survivability with the push, you know?
Yeah. So I'd still use either figure in quite a few situations. So neither of them's necessarily bad, but they're not making me go, I got this.
Right. Agreed.
So, yeah. All right. Next up.
I do think I'll give it this. I will say this: Mystics that heals itself back, very annoying.
Oh yeah, that's super obnoxious. It's like, yes, I did some damage to the Mystic guy. It hurt a little, but What are you doing? Put that back.
Yeah, I guess from that alone, plus the RCE on a starting 3 damage, I'm going to give her a thumbs up, actually, because I do like the fact that she's a Mystic's character that forces your opponent to go all in against her. And again, forcing your opponent to a decision is a thing I like on my teams.
Yeah. All right, next up, Lady Vic. 6 range, 2 targets, 75 points or 50 points. In Justice League, Secret 6 Assassin, Martial Artist keyword. She's got the Secret 6 trait, for those of you who don't remember, Stealth, but only if your force has 3 or more characters. Improved movement, ignores hindering, but only if your force has 5 or more characters. Modify all combat values by +1, but only if your force has exactly 6 characters. Special defense power in the last 3 clicks, lightly armored so I can move, toughness and combat reflexes. Special damage power on her first 3 clicks if you go with 75 points. I just looked at the dial divide. Is that right?
Like, it's a joke. Okay. Like, that is a terrible investment of 50 points.
Okay, just quickly one. Ruthless Determination on the first 3 clicks. Choose one, give Lady Vic a move action at no cost, or make a range attack after resolutions, deal Lady Vic 1 unavoidable damage. Okay, so let's get back to this. What? You were saying?
Well, I mean, in her own defense, there's something to be said for a free move of 8 squares to then call in somebody who costs less than 75 points at the expense of 1 damage. I mean, combine that with a TK.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay. She does have 1 more click at 50 points.
Okay, so it is a mistake. Good.
Oh, thank God. Because if that was a 3-click 50-point character, I was about to throw it out in the garbage.
Yeah, again, there is something to be said for the fact that she very likely has stealth. So let's assume you're playing her then at 50 points. She's got 7 movement. So you TK her up 6 squares. She then moves free for 7. That's 13 squares she's just moved. She calls in Wolverine. He can charge for 5 away from her. So that's an 18-square turnaround for a Wolverine. And in the process, you deal her 1 damage. She ends up in stealth with combat reflexes on the 17. That's pretty situational. but it's not worthless.
Mhm.
She's a thumbs down regardless,
Yeah.
but at least I can see some shenanigans in that respect.
Mm-hmm. And this set, you're not seeing things like we saw in previous sets where you have 6-figure teams. And if you do,
At 50 points, it's possible. 60, 6 is hard. 5 is possible, but 3 is not that hard.
Yeah, three is pretty average. Average is 3 to 4 figures per team on this set.
Yeah.
All right. Shade the Changing Girl, 45 points. Cosmic keyword. Touch of Madness trait. Shape change. When Shade the Changing Girl uses it and succeeds, you may change the target to a character friendly. To the attacking character. Target must otherwise be legal. Special movement power on her first 3 clicks. Phasing, teleport, and plasticity. Power. Place Shade the Changing Girl in any square with an unheld object. I can see that being annoying. Dip into Megan's bullying. Perplex, but only to target opposing characters. When Shade the Changing Girl uses it, you may instead modify a combat value other than damage -2 instead of -1. Nah, for 45 points, you're getting a lot of value out of this figure, I think, with Perplex, trade a shape change. Shape change that really makes you go,
Right?
Because that's such a huge risk. Like, if you're attacking her, I hope Colonel Poison is next to you because you're Battle Furying or something like that. Because, man.
It is crazy though that it's not like an adjacent character. It's like if she succeeds at shape change, she could just make you shoot someone else. Like that's really aggravating.
Oh, were you gonna shoot me, Unimind? That's a shame. Shoot Lockjaw instead. It saved me a little bit of work, please.
It's a shame that she's not doing much else. It's a shame that she doesn't cost 50 points. She would be better and constructed if she could call in a Wolverine, perplex him up, and just sit back and be the sort of person that kind of like what's the name of that 40-point Charlie X kind of says, go ahead, attack me. Like people who make you potentially regret attacking in the first place is kind of cool. But she's not enough points, and that makes her a thumbs down.
Yeah. On the plus side, she can really disrupt your opponent's attempt to grab their special object if you get the first turn. Where you take that power action, you're on it, you get plasticity now.
Yeah.
So
that's true. And all they get is 45 points.
Yeah. Or to attack their own character if they didn't bring Battle Fury.
I'm assuming that it's constructed and they had the wisdom to bring out wit. Let's face it, if your opponent didn't, then your opponent deserves to lose.
Their opponent deserves to attack their own figures.
Exactly.
All right, next up, Aquaman. 80 points, Atlantis Justice League ruler keyword, leading the charge. He gives you exploit weakness to your Justice League dudes. King of Atlantis. If Aquaman occupies water terrain, he has free move up to 4 squares. I don't talk to fish. Mind control as free with a range of 8 and 3 targets, but only to target characters with the aquatic symbol. I'm glad that's traded and not including. Oh, jeez. Well, Giganto's a mammal. What do you think of Aquaman?
It's fair. Oh, what do I think of him? I don't think he's worth 80 points. What can I say? He's just not. Nothing about him screams, I earn my value. He's thumbs down for me. I think in sealed, you're not likely to find the right combination of things to make him worthwhile, and thus you're probably better using your points elsewhere. In constructed, there are just plain better things for the points. So both way cases.
If my opponent pulls Aquaman, Dolphin, and Tempest, though, I'm calling a judge over.
Right.
All right. Next up, Red Hood. Batman ally, Outsiders team ability. 6 range, 2 targets, 75 points. Batman family, outlaws, and martial arts keyword. Improved movement, ignores hindering terrain, ignores elevated terrain. Dark Trinity trait. Sometimes I do things to annoy people as the second trait. When Red Hood hits 1 or more characters after resolutions, roll a d6. On a 4 to 5, a hit character modifies attack -2 until your next turn. On a roll of 6, all hit characters modify attack -2 until your next turn. Strict rule from Batman: no killing unless Red Hood's the only character on your force. When he would KO an opposing character with an attack, instead that character is not KO'd and is turned to the last non-KO click and heal Red Hood 1 click. And this is the dial. It's very similar to Artemis, where you got that mirroring first and last click, and it kind of like mirrors on either end of it to the center kind of thing.
It's that outlaw thing.
That outlaw thing. He's neat. His attack value is so high.
Right.
Like 12 attack for 75 points on a 6-click dial with toughness. If he had Indomitable, he'd be over the top, I think. And sometimes I do things to annoy people. It's a 50-50 chance to get some obnoxious dude -2 attack. Yeah, I'm gonna give him I'm personally gonna give him a thumbs up. I wish his prob was front loaded, but that's cool. Late game prob is, or mid game prob is okay in my books. I like him. Tom?
Yeah, you've convinced me. I'll give him a thumbs up for sealed. I think that he's a bit too rich for constructed, although every time I see the Outsiders team ability, I want to work with it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Just doesn't do quite enough at the moment. But all the same, yeah, go ahead. Play with sealed. He's decent.
Yeah, just on pure numbers alone. I mean,
numbers with stealth and Outsiders.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next up, The Flash. Justice League team ability, 70 points. A Central City Justice League police, scientist, and speedster keywords. Ignores characters for movement. It's okay. Everything else he adds ignores everything else. His leading the charges gives your Justice League characters probability control, but only for their own attacks. That's fine. And he's got a special movement power in his first 3 clicks. At peace with the Speed Force. Flurry, phasing teleport, and sidestep. When the Flash uses phasing teleport and moves 5 or less squares, after resolutions, he may be given a close action at no cost. Flurry is a close action, if you're going to ask. Heroes don't kill on his last 2 clicks unless the Flash is the only character in your force when he would KO an opposing character with an attack. Instead, that character is not KO'd and is turned to their last non-KO click and heal the Flash 1 click. I talked about Red Hood first. You talk about Flash first.
He is a thumbs up for sure. The heroes don't kill shtick is annoying, but it's also at the end of his dial, and I don't think you're going to see it. It's not like Red Hood. We didn't really talk about it with Red Hood, but that is one of the big detractors for Red Hood for me is the fact that he doesn't KO people. With the Flash, I'm not so worried. I suspect he'll be dead rather than seeing his last couple clicks. Otherwise, I'll find a way to work with it. I do think that he's pretty cool. He doesn't get the full benefit of most Flashes from the sheer swing potential, but in the meantime, I mean, he's got an 18 combat reflexes. Presumably, you're putting your perplex on your defense until you're close enough for it to be used elsewhere. So that's a 19, potentially 20 from range if he's hindering. 21 if you're trying to get up close to him. That's no easy feat to hit. And so, even though he is a shallow dial, I do think that you can find ways of making it work. I like the Indomitable, so thumbs up.
I just want to say, the game I played against this guy, he was adjacent to a Steel who was not going with Invincible.
Right.
Oh, man. Oh, man, was that brutal. All right. Bat Dash Man. 5 range, 100 or 75 points. Justice League of China. Martial artist and scientist keywords. Ministry of Self-Reliance is his trait. We know that one, and we don't like it. The rocket arms of Robinbot gives him flight. This is his trait. Flight, toughness, and modifies range +2. Power, make a ranged attack, modify attack and damage +2. After resolutions, Batman can't use this trait the rest of the game. So it's like a really big... and then especially first 2 clicks on his 100-point dial. Hope you did the homework, dummy. Oh, dummy, yeah. Leadership, Outwit, Perplex. When Batman uses leadership and succeeds, choose an adjacent friendly character that shares a keyword or has lower points. That character can use Perplex until your next turn. I like the idea of the big alpha strike with him. I don't like that it's attached to a guy with that Ministry of Self-Reliance trait, because I just hate that trait myself. But if you're paying 100 points, you're getting that leadership. You got leadership, Outwit, Perplex on this guy. With energy shield at 18 defense is really, really good. And when you use, it's also on a 7 range. You got to remember, because until you use the boomdy, he's got +2 range. And when he uses leadership and succeeds, choose an adjacent friendly character, shares a keyword or his lower points. You can use Perplex until your next turn. I'm sideways on this guy, to be brutally honest. I'm nonplussed by him superbly, but everything about him is not at face value, and it's really hard to focus on it, I think. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I got to give him a thumbs down. I mean, he does do a lot. I love the fact that he Outwit, leadership, and Perplex. That's just awesome, man. The fact that he hands out Perplex when it works. But he's still 100 points without stealth. I guess the ESD is nice. 50 points, like for 75 points, he's laughably short dialed. I mean, I even like Freudian slip. I said 50 because I couldn't imagine paying more than that for
Yeah.
4 clicks. And as it is, I don't relish paying 100 points for 6 clicks when this is all that they have to defend him. So I guess he does have toughness now that I say it, but. It's a hard sell. He's more playable at 100 than 75 for sure. So I mean, maybe a thumbs sideways for 100, but thumbs down hard for 75.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just said dummy, yeah, realizing, oh crap, Eli Drake is no longer with Impact. He's not gonna be there. All right. Black Canary. 5 range, 65 points, bombshell, celebrity keywords. Ignores characters for movement. Bombshell trait. When Black Canary makes an attack targeting opposing character, give her a bombshell token. Free if she has 2 action tokens. Remove 2 bombshell tokens and make a close attack. Rockin' Live and Ringin' Heads is her second trait. Force Blast. Free. Remove a bombshell token. If you do this turn, all knockback caused by friendly characters is doubled, and opposing characters that can use charge and combat reflexes can be knocked back. Jive and Wail is her special attack power in her first 3 clicks. Pulse Wave. When Black Canary uses it, you may remove a bombshell token. If you do, after resolutions, give an action token to each hit opposing character. What do you think of Our Lady the Black Canary, Rockabilly?
Oh, big thumbs up. Constructed and sealed. Like sealed, she's a given. Can you tell we're in the super rares? I mean,
yeah.
what an
Really?
improvement for 65 points. Love it. Double rollouts on a running shot pulse wave character, but don't get greedy. Don't feel like you need to use that pulse wave right away. Stay back if you can. Try to crank up some bombshell tokens, because if you get to be able to use them, like I love the idea of removing a bombshell token, going in there, pulse waving, knocking everybody back because the bombshell thing, remove another bombshell token and give them all action tokens. It's like, what a disruption that is. You just can't leave her alone, and she's 65 points. That gives you a lot more points to build the rest of your team around her. So don't build her to last. Build her to draw way more attention than a 65 point character should.
Yeah, 100% agree. You don't necessarily have to go hard with her, but when you do, oh man, is your opponent gonna feel it?
Yeah, and she's going to be able to knock him back in the meantime anyway. Like, she's a good piece. Real good piece.
All right, next up, Robin. Batman ally and Titans team abilities, 6 range, 125 or 75 points. Keywords are Batman family, League of Assassins, Teen Titans, Animal, Assassin, Martial Artist. Super Sons trait, which we saw in Superboy, where you get Titans Reborn trait, Dive Bomb on the first 2 clicks at 125 points. Charge. When Robin uses it, you may choose not to half his speed. If you do, he must move in a direct path. He's got a special defense power on the first 4 at 125 or the first 2 at 75. In Goliath's good graces, giant size, invulnerability, adjacent friendly characters, modified defense +1. He's tempting to use, and I want him to be so much more exciting, but I'll probably use him in a sealed environment if I pull him, but I'm not going to be happy about it.
He's got that stealth.
He does have stealth, and he does have all the team abilities you have, which in this set is Batman ally and Teen Titans. How about that? Maybe, I mean, if you pull the Superboy in this guy, you're set, and then throw a couple Titans on to keep them both alive. But I'm also like saying, hey, you plucked some heartstrings, so
right.
He's okay. He's not bad. He's pretty strong. Like the 125 points is beefy, and you do have to kind of hope that you have the hindering terrain to get to. And again, much like the Superman, you probably get first attack with this guy. And so I'm gonna say he's good. He's just not constructed exciting. I think I've got the constructed mindset. So sealed, he's great. He's a tough dude. Throws down. He's got stealth, hard to get a hold of, and he increases the defense, which you desperately need in this set, as we discussed. Just not constructed is distracting me. So go ahead, Tom.
He's a thumbs down. We can talk about him all day long if we want to. Just because he's one of the better ones doesn't mean that for 125 points he's too rich, and for 75 points he's too vulnerable.
All right, cool. Next up, just give me a second here. I kind of lost some monitor love there.
Oh,
this is what I get for using a capture card. Brand new technology is ruining my day, guys. I apologize. All right, next up we have Lex Luthor, playable at 200 or 100 points. He's got the Apocalypse Justice League, Metropolis, Armor, and Scientist keywords. He's got a trait. You thought I wouldn't prepare for that? Ridiculous. Protected Outwit. Once per action for all characters with this trait, when an opposing character would target another friendly character with Outwit, both players roll a d6. If your result is higher, that friendly character has Protected Outwit until the end of your next turn. Okay, so I was reading that. It's like, I got to get there. Where are we going with this? Special defense power. Regenerative armor from Apocalypse. Impervious. Lex Luthor takes a maximum of 1 damage from the first attack that hits him each turn. A special damage power. Show them how super a man can be. Leadership, Outwit. When Lex Luthor uses leadership and succeeds, this turn he uses Outwit. You may choose 2 powers instead. Oh man, that was a lot going on there. What do you think of Lex Luthor?
Jury's out. I mean, from a sealed perspective, he's a thumbs up at both point values as far as I'm concerned, because I really like the fact that he's got Protected Outwit plus the Impervious, and the fact he takes a maximum of 1 damage from the first attack that hits. Now, to be fair, go ahead and mind control them, and then psychic blast him to your heart's content or whatever. Like there's things you can do, but I still think that he's worth his points. The Protected Outwit goes so far, and he's just a nasty customer. So he's one of the few tent poles I think that kind of lives up to it. I think he's more playable at 100 though, to be fair, as is often the case with these guys. That being said. In Constructed, it's where I'm not really sure. I just feel like he's still going to get dismantled. Admittedly, he will do well with the proliferation of pieces that kind of rely on 1 attack per turn being big and meaningful, like a lot of pieces that are relying on call-ins or your Black Panthers, your Unimines, and like your one-man army type teams are going to have a hard time dealing with him, and he might have an easier time dealing with them. But unfortunately, I still don't know that what he's doing against your Unimines and your Black Panthers that make him more viable in that particular respect. So he's a hard sell for me in Constructed regardless, but I would play him in Sealed, especially at 100.
Yeah, he was super strong in the Sealed environment, for sure. All right.
We don't need to really go into this, do we?
Dude, Mr. Oz. Okay, I guess we do have to kind of address him because we do have to have the conversation on air about this.
Okay.
Let's just kind of get it out of our way. Mr. Oz, playable at 100 or 40. If you play him at 40 points, he's the first 2 clicks. 100, he's all of the dial there. Kryptonian Cosmic Scientist. So this line is, if he crosses this line of 40, he dies. Otherwise, keep going. Special movement power, pass the line, which is only on 100-point dial. Free, place Mr. Oz in a square within 6 squares. Intercept the projection is his special attack power on the both dials. Telekinesis, whenever a character is placed by telekinesis after resolution, you may place that character within 2 squares in line of fire of their current square. Special defense power, stop, invincible. Mr. Oz can't be healed above this click. And then he's got special damage power on the first 2 clicks, manipulate from another dimension, probability control with a range value of 12. When Mr. Oz uses it, he can use improved targeting, ignores blocking terrain, ignores elevated terrain, and ignores characters. He's already got the Superman ally and Hypertime team abilities, so he ignores terrain.
Yep.
With a 12 range prop. Both environments, he has a place. Let's not.
Unbelievable! Oh, for sure. He's a immediate top tier piece in Constructed the moment that he becomes legal. For 40 points, TK is such a big part of a world with so many special objects, and the fact that he disrupts it in so many interesting ways is so great. It's not just like, because you TK somebody onto an object and then he pulls them off. You bring out an ID character that uses a TK and you can potentially poof them right away. You can also extend your own TK lines or move. I don't know. There's a lot of options. It's amazing how effective that really is. Combine that with the best prop control in the game. And Hypertime, one of the most rarely seen and truly awesome team abilities out there. He's playable at both values. The only real, I don't think I will play him in Constructed at 100, since that's a lot of points. It's reliant upon your opponent bothering to make an attack against him. He's not so good that you need to deal with him first. So I think he's really mostly playable at 40 points in the Constructed environment, but all the same, really, really good piece.
Yeah, really playable at 40 points for sure. I mean, and he's got Scientist and Cosmic. I'm looking at Scientist. Lots of people are already playing with Cosmic. So.
It's a lot of people are trying Scientist too. Like he's probably the best piece in the set.
Yeah. All right, next up, Clayface. Batman Ally, team building 100 points. Batman Family, Gotham City, Celebrity, Monster keywords. The old Brick and Mace is a special movement power in his first 3 clicks. Flurry, Plasticity, Sidestep. When Clayface uses Flurry, choose that either the first or second attack will deal penetrating damage. After resolutions, give a character hit by the other attack an action token. Special attack power, which he has on his last 3 clicks, Massive Moving Mud. Poison, Knockback. When Clayface hits with a close attack after resolutions, you may place him adjacent to the hit target. Special defense power on his last 2 clicks, Defend and Invulnerability. Special damage power on his last 3 clicks, I Tried It Your Way. Shape Change, free until your next turn, close combat expert in giant size, and Clayface can't use stealth because he's big. Just
That's fair.
because he's big. And you kind of gushed about Mr. Oz, so I'm just going to say sealed playable for Clayface. We're not as excited for him as we are. Like, Mr. Oz kind of killed my momentum on Clayface. I'll play him in sealed for sure. He's pretty strong, really hard to get a hold of. A shame he doesn't have any willpower for 100 points, which kind of is a little bit irksome, and he doesn't really have like regeneration or anything to kind of keep him going. So I want to like him more than I do, to be brutally honest. So, but I'd play him in sealed with a thumb sideways. Not too excited for him for constructed. Tom?
The only amendment I would say is for sealed, I'm going to give him a straight thumbs up because I think he does do enough even without the willpower because he's so hard to take down and he does do a lot of damage. But yeah, he's not constructed worthy, I'm afraid.
Yeah. You know what? The stealth kind of changed my mind a little now I think about it because he's going to be harder to outwit that way.
Yeah.
Right.
And what do you outwit? Because again, like that shape change is so annoying. You want to outwit that, but if you do, then you're dealing with a big old defense tile.
Yeah. All right, next up, Black Manta. Wildcard team ability, 6 range, 2 targets, 75 points. In Justice League, Legion of Doom, Secret Society, Supervillain, Suicide Squad, and Pirate. He was even harder than Black Adam.
Right.
Black Pearl is his trait. Power, generate up to 4 terrain markers within range, each adjacent to at least one other. And at least 1 marker must be adjacent to Black Manta. When Black Manta is KO'd, remove these markers from the map. Free. If Black Manta occupies water terrain, you may place him into a square of water terrain within 5 squares. Special attack power on his first 3 clicks. Devil Ray. Energy Explosion. Poison. When Black Manta hits with a ranged attack, give each hit character a poison dart marker. When Black Manta uses poison, characters with a poison dart marker are considered adjacent. He's got a special attack damage defense power on his first 2 clicks. Adaptive Battlesuit, Energy Shield, Invulnerable Willpower. What do you think of Black Manta?
I want to like him more than I do because I think his dial is too shallow, no pun intended, for 75 points. I think it's neat. I love the whole poison dart thing, and I like the fact that he can move around for free. He's got lots of cool shenanigans, but they're just not enough to add up to a play as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. On your page on that one. All right, next up, Starfire. Corian, I don't know why I'm reading a real name. Quintessence and Teen Titans team abilities. Quintessence, holy smokes!
Right.
7 range with 2 targets. Comes in at 100 or 50 points. I don't have this figure. Is that really a 3-click?
It really is, but look at how. But like,
I'm
read
not
it.
complaining about it. It's strong.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Outlaws, Teen Titans, Cosmic, and Warrior keywords. Hey, she fits into that whole Outlaws thing. She doesn't gain it, but she gives it. Titans Reborn trait. I can tame any man or creature as a special movement power. Charge, Flurry, Force Blast, Earthbound, Neutralized. It's
Last
on her
click
last
only.
click. Star Bolts, which she has in her first 3 clicks of the 100-point dial. Energy Explosion. Starfire may use it at no cost instead of a range attack while using hypersonic speed. Woof. And then special defense power. Battle, Kanga, Tournament. Stop, Combat Reflexes. Her last click comes with some Battle Fury as well. This is a really, really impressive dial. I think at either point value, like you could, the 50 point is super playable. Even she's not unique, I don't think. So multiples would go a long way for her. And 100 points for sealed is so potent because you also got to remember everybody's like outwit her, not with Quintessence. You're not. So
Yep.
Starfire really stands out as a solid thumbs up for me. And there's some possibility for constructed for her too. I think too. What do you think, Tom?
I agree. Thumbs up. Both constructed and sealed. I think in constructed, pretty much 50 point only. Most of the time, it's 50 point only, unless you really don't have a better use of your other 50 points. But it's nice to know that the top dial, you're never going to feel like you were getting ripped off. I just think that she's a very economical, sweet package for 50 points.
Mm-hmm. All right, next up, Jessica Cruz. She's got the Green Lantern team ability and Justice League team abilities. 6 range, 65 points. Green Lantern Corps, Justice League team ability, or keywords. Sorry, we're getting to that point.
It's both. Like she's got
Yeah.
both Justice League and Green Lantern as the keywords and the team abilities.
That's true. Her leading the charge gives your Justice League character sidestep. Special attack power on her first 2 clicks, catching a submarine out of midair. Telekinesis. Once per turn, when Jessica Drew carries a character and moves 5 or less squares, after resolution, she may use telekinesis at no cost. Free from the fear of Volthoom is her special damage power on her first 2 clicks. Shape change. Free. Choose a character with a range of line of fire. That character can't use Battle Fury this turn. Hey, what stops shape change? Battle Fury. This character over here, you there, you don't get it. I like that. I like that guy. But Tom, you get the first opinion on this one.
I have to give it a thumbs down, and it's a shame because I love the Green Lantern Corps team ability. It's one of my favorite team abilities in the game, and I really wish she was better. But I can't think of any cool interactions for her free TK after moving people thing. You could do with Sam Cap or something. There's some specific examples maybe,
There's a few ones left of Sam Cap, yeah.
Yeah, but in general, I just don't think there's any natural thing besides maybe carrying people in and then TKing yourself back out again or something. I don't know. I want her to be better, but I can't figure out how, and it's too late for me to be creative. So,
Aaron caught me on this because I think I did it, and some of the players I played with did differently. Her name is Jessica Cruz. I constantly keep accidentally saying Jessica Drew.
I was going to point it out, and I was like, it'd be a jerk.
The player I played against who was using this figure called it Jessica Jones.
Does anyone call her J. Crew? Because that's what I thought.
J. Crew. I think that's what I should do to avoid this kind of problem. But thanks for keeping me honest there, Aaron. All right, next up, Deathstroke. This is the one with the Speed Force. Speedy Deathstroke. So he's got the wildcard team ability. He's got 6 range with 2 targets. He's 150 points. His keywords are society, assassin, martial artist, soldier, and speedster. Improved movement ignores hindering terrain. Borrowed speed force is a trait. Hypersonic speed. When Deathstroke moves at least 1 square and hits 1 or more adjacent characters after resolutions, give him a speed force trait. We've done this before.
Yes.
But there's an added clause in here. The last clause, which is fresh to his version of it. When Deathstroke uses hypersonic speed, you may remove a speed token. If you do, he may give a close or range action at no cost instead of making an attack. So if, in this case, you've got like energy explosion or blades is in there.
Psychic Blast is in there.
Psychic Blast is in there. It's pretty
Exploit.
Weakness, probability. And his special damage power in the first 4 clicks gives him exploit, weakness, probability control. Each time Deathstroke's attack is re-rolled, immediately modifies attack by +1. Because
awesome.
As if you're not already improving his odds of hitting with the prob, right?
Right. And of course it applies to opposing prob too. So
yeah, this guy's really cool and sealed, like for sure. His point cost is a little high for the constructed realm, but I like everything about him for sealed, and the fact that his hypersonic is traded is really solid. You're really hoping though you got a Batman ally team ability guy on your team because you really need to hide for outwit, because hypersonic stops this guy, or outwitting a hypersonic really just stops him dead in the tracks. That's kind of what I'm seeing on that. So I'm gonna give him thumbs up, because you can still get to a certain degree far enough out of range of that guy with outwit, I think. I don't know, what do you think, Tom?
There aren't very many pieces in HeroClix because I love 300 points so much that make me ever want to play anything other than 300 points. But here's one where I kind of, like the idea of going to a 500-point tournament and having him on my team, because I don't like how much of an investment he is of my 300-point team, and I have to give him a thumbs down as much as I think that he would be a lot of fun to play. I just think he's too much of an investment in the 300-point setting for me to feel comfortable with it when he is so vulnerable to outwit. Mm-hmm. But I feel like he would be fun to play. So I think he'd be fun in 500. And that's a thing that I will not say very often because I really like a 300-point game. I'm a bit of a lame-o that way.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. I like the 300-point environment. And a dude like this is just, I want a big game for him. This is what I like to call a kitchen table character.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, next up, Flex Mentalo, 75 points, Doom Patrol celebrity, and past keywords. The insult that made me a man trait. Super strength. Once per turn, when an opposing character of higher points hits Flex Mentalo, after resolutions, roll a d6. Heal Flex Mentalo equal to half the result. Special defense power in his last 4 clicks. My famous hero Halo. Energy shield deflection toughness. When an opposing character makes a range attack targeting Flex Mentalo, modify their damage -2. And then he's got a special damage power on his first 3 clicks. I flexed hard enough to turn the pentagon into a circle. Free. Choose a piece of blocking terrain within 5 squares. This turn, characters treat that piece of blocking terrain as clear for movement and line of fire, but it still can't be occupied. What do you think of Flex Mentalo, Tom?
He's good for 75 points. I'm going to give him a big old thumbs up. I don't think he's very playable and constructed, but I think that he's a good use of 75 points and big old thick dial. Interesting upfront TK. That's unexpected given the rest of what he does, but still kind of neat. You really, I wish he had sidesteps so you could surprise somebody by like dropping an object and then TKing it at them. But he can also pull objects away from your opponents so that he can later pick them up and charge at you with them in the next turn. So that's kind of cool. And the blocking terrain thing is potentially interesting if you manage to win the win map with him, or if you just are on a map where that can be used to your good effect. So neat.
Be smart with your barriers against them, kids. Let me tell you, you better double barrier. Double bag it.
yeah. Tell Tara all about it. Not quite as strong as the next guy on our list, mind you.
No. All right. Next up, Superman. Justice League and Superman ally team ability, 6 range, 175 or 100 points. Justice League, Kryptonian, Metropolis, Trinity, and Reporter keywords. Leading the charge, which ignores hindering for targeting. Underground Assault, phasing teleport. When Superman uses it, generate a hindering terrain marker in the square he began and ended his movement in, and after resolutions, if he moved 5 squares or less, he can use Quake at no cost. And he's got a special movement power in his last 3 clicks. Charge, flurry, sidestep. It's called the 2 Fists of Justice. Superman's cool. He's Superman. Of course he's cool, right? As kids like to say.
He's a big, beefy Superman, too.
Yeah. If you look at the model, huge. I feel like they got the Prime and the Super Rare kind of mixed up because this Superman lifts, bro.
Yeah, no, this is straight up like late 90s era beefcake Superman.
Yeah, like Rob Liefeld himself came in and modeled this character.
Yeah, Marvel versus DC style Superman.
But overall, he's playable, I think, at both dials and sealed. And that Quake power, if you're somehow stuck in the underground cavern, can't make effective use of your full movement for hypersonic, or you're playing at the 100-point dial, if you can single target a Quake with that 4 damage, your opponent will be like, what? So I give him a thumbs up for sealed, for sure. Agreed.
Another one where I would want to play him the low point value. What's happening with this game? I used to always want to play the big tentpole guys, or like I've never been a tentpole lover, but I've often found them more playable at their higher point values. But this is another guy that I see more use for him at 100 points. All the same, he is playable at both. Good piece.
Tentpole lover.
For sealed. Yeah, it's a weird thing for me to say because I'm actually not a tentpole lover as I think about it. I guess what I really mean is that they always used to make split dial characters such that it seemed like the lower point dial was a kind of, you were losing a lot. They're doing it a much more balanced way now.
All right. Next up, we have the prime of the Superman, Bizarro, who actually looks very comfortable in that body.
Right.
He's got the Outsiders team ability, 3 range, 125 points, Outlaws, Brute, and Monster keyword. Again, we have this mirroring back in to the center dial style. So like the first and last click are the same. Then the middle, the next 2 dials either direction are the same, and then so on. And then we have that middle spike in there. Dark Trinity trait and freeze vision. When Bizarro hits 1 or more characters after resolutions, roll a d6. On a 4 to 5, a hit character gains immobile until your next turn. On a
Crazy.
6, all hit characters gain immobile until your next turn. And he's got Quake on quite a few of his clicks. So
yeah, I
think he's cool. I think I kind of put a thumbs sideways though, because he's sealed playable if you pulled a TK. But it's not outwardly, because it's not like a Superman where you got a 6 or 7. I talked about Superman first. It's your turn.
I don't know. Well, that's fine. I'm going to give him a thumbs up. I think for 125 points, he is very solid. Yeah, you can be outwitted, but I don't know. For 125 points, it's hard to know, because not everyone's going to have outwit, and if they don't, and if they can't get to him first, boy, are they ever going to potentially be paying for it.
He can regret it.
He can also take a big hit and still deal out a lot of punishment. So, like, don't play him. Go in there, go across the map, outsider somebody, so at least they're not going to get any bonus damage through if they outwit you, and then hope to survive the storm. Defense values are very solid. I think he's decent.
Yeah, and you know what? I do like the idea of. Remember how much we said about Demios and Phobos. Guys like Bizarro or Y.
Right.
I get rid of your defense power. I soak the Mystic's damage and I kill you.
Oh, just brutally. Like, considering the light object he will invariably have off the top, that's a 6 damage right away with it unassisted. Like, that's crazy good.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have Wonder-Woman. 125 or 75 points. Justice League of China. Animal, martial artist, mystical, past, and warrior keywords. Mystery, self-reliance. Special attack power on her first 4 at 125 or first 2 at 75. Fang of the Green Snake. Giant reach 2. Blades, claws, fangs. Special defense power on her last click. Stop, impervious. When this click is first revealed, if Wonder Woman is 125 points, modify her combat values by +1 this game. Then she's got a special damage power on first 3 at 125 or first click at 75. Listen to your heart to find your true path. Leadership, probability control. When Wonder Woman uses leadership and succeeds, the character she removed an action token from can use probability control until your next turn. I think this is the most playable of the Justice League China characters, in my opinion, because she gives her probability control and leadership and doesn't, like... I think that goes a long way. She's got a lot of keywords that repeat throughout the set, specifically martial artist, mystical, and animal. They're pitter-pattered all over the place. And like, she can prop herself, which I think goes a long way. And then that stop click towards the end, like, that dial is actually an 11 movement with plasticity, a 12 attack with poison, an 18 defense with... This is, unlike what you said about the last one, where you're using a lot of lower dials. I'm using high dial on this one.
Yeah, agreed. She's one of the exceptions.
Yeah.
One of the good old Blades, Claws, Fang. Look at those opening damage value. 4, 3, 3. I'm not using blades on that.
I mean, well, with blades nowadays, it's a minimum of 3. If that changes your mind in any way, shape, or form.
I'm not using blades.
I'm not either.
Show your blades. I'm using the light object I'm holding.
Exactly. It's charged light object. I'm just playing devil's advocate. You know, after you've used a light object, if somehow Shazam is still alive,
That's fair.
But yeah, just Wonder Woman is probably the standout of the Justice League China for sure. All right, we're ending in that territory that's just makes no sense in sealed. Chases. The Red Death, 200, 100 points. Dark Knights, monsters, speedster, keywords. Indomitable, I mean, most of these are what you see is what you get dials. Not very many of them have special powers. Ignores hindering for movement. The Reckless, disregard for life, which they all have. Once per turn, when the Red Death targets and hits a single opposing character with close attack after resolutions, deal each other hit character that is adjacent to either Red Death or the target 1 penetrating damage. We will not hide in the shadows anymore is the other trait they all have. When the Red Death occupies clear terrain and is targeted by a range attack, modify defense +1. When targeted by an opposing character that can use stealth, modify defense +1. When targeted by an opposing character occupying hindering terrain, modify defense +1. Each one stacks on top of the other, so any combination of all of those things could get you up to +3 defense, depending on what's on there. Then he's got the Speed Force Storm. When the Red Death hits an opposing character, you may generate a Speed Storm marker in that character square, max 3. Free, choose a Speed Storm marker and place it in a square adjacent to its current square. Free, choose a Speed Storm marker that is not generated this turn and roll a d6 on a 3 to 6. Give a character occupying the chosen marker an action token. Is a really strong hypersonic dude. If you can get the Speed Force Storm to start working for you, boy, is it ever going to work for you. I'm probably leaning towards 100 points on this dial myself. Hopefully when Tom comes back.
I'm here. You just can't see me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so that I kind of see this as a 100-point hypersonic. That's pretty good. Playable at 200, but I don't know. In this set, I kind of want more things on this team than just him. I don't know. What do you think of the Red Death?
You are 100% right. At
Okay.
200 points, it is unforgivable that he doesn't go above 3 damage, or have any way of giving himself higher damage. I mean, he's a hypersonic character, so he can't even use the light object to get the increase. So, 100 points, yeah, I could be convinced for somebody who moves this far, has all those trait shenanigans, and has probability control with heavy defenses and indomitable. Yes, I can be convinced for 100 points, but I cannot for 200.
No. All right, next up, the Murder Machine. 7 range, 2 targets, 200 or 100. Dark Knight's armor, monster, robot keywords. Ignores blocking and destroys it when drawing line of fire. The Alfred Protocol, knockback when the Murder Machine KOs an opposing character. Does not include KOs from knockback damage. After resolutions, he may make an attack. Can trigger multiple times per turn. Reckless disregard for life. We will not hide in the shadows anymore. Both traits which we described with the Red Death. We will not hide technomorphing, which he has on the first 4 of 200 or the first 1 of 100. Probability control and shape change. Thoughts on the Murder Machine, Tom?
More playable at 200, certainly, with the prob and the shape change, with the invincible and that big swing that potentially does exactly what his name implies. He starts murdering a lot. So I'm going to give him thumbs up in both cases. I think at 200, there's a chance that you've pulled some other good stuff and you will want to play him at 100, but at least you can breathe a sigh of relief if you see him going in your pack, because if the worst case scenario is that you're playing him at 200, he's got the output to potentially make that worthwhile.
All right, next up, we have the Dawnbreaker. If you watch the show, you've heard me talk about him a lot because I'm excited for him. For one very specific reason, is that if you want to counter me, I'm countering you with him. Green Lantern team ability, 7 range, 200 or 75 points. Dark Knight's Green Lantern core and monster keywords. Ignores hindering terrain for line of fire. Reckless disregard for life. Will not hide in the shadows anymore. Then he's got this Nightmare Constructs. Barrier, which is traded on him. Whenever an opposing character generates 1 or more bystanders after resolutions, you may generate the same bystanders. These bystanders you generate modify combat values +1 this game and have max 1. I like the Dawnbreaker. It plays very differently in Sealed because this set does not make bystanders. I think Mr. Terrific is the only guy that makes dudes. So you're not going to get that Nightmare Constructs trigger. So then you're kind of relying on this guy as a big blasty dude who shoots stealthy people. The 200 is usable in that matter, but the 75 point is really good and can possibly make other ranged characters on your team do tons of damage. So not as exciting as, say, the Murder Machine, but not bad still. So I give it a thumbs up for playability, but you know, I kind of want this guy for Constructed more than I want him for Sealed. Tom?
Big thumbs up for Constructed, particularly at 75. And I would say at Sealed, also great 75, because I love that Green Lantern core team ability, if nothing else. So he's your team taxi, in addition to the fact that he's a decent little supporting attacker who's not so easy to take out with the not hiding the shadows anymore trait in place.
Yeah. All right, next up, the Drowned. 150 or 75 points. Atlantis, Dark Knight's monster pirate keyword. Sorry, I got stuck chewing some ice and very bad timing. Batman of Earth, -11. Is that supposed to be a dash, or is that supposed to be a -11?
It's Batwoman, and I believe it's Earth 11.
Oh, Batwoman of Earth 11. Okay, sorry. Stealth, water terrain is considered hindering terrain for line of fire purposes everywhere on the map. If the Drowned occupies water terrain, she deals penetrating damage. Note, she has poison across the entire dial. Reckless disregard for life, will not hide in the shadows anymore. Tom, thoughts on the Drowned?
She's really hard to take out from range for a whole bunch of reasons. Like, she's a dolphin, and so she's in the water. She's cranking up her defense. When she's clear, she's cranking up her defense. She's got stealth, so you can't see her, and she's turning the water into hindering. Like, holy crap, it's annoying. For 75 points, she's a pretty good deal. Although, again, one good hit will knock her deep down that dial. But I'll take 5 clicks when they're doing this much. For 150, it's a harder sell, but I think that she is still pretty solid. A lot of other people are more excited about her than I am, and so I'm interested to find out why. I guess I'll find out by losing to it.
I think part of it is the existence of characters like Tempest who can make water.
Right.
And she does have Atlantis, which is already a keyword we know we can stack up pretty hard. So I think she just fits into archetype that already kind of exists. And there's characters that are bolstering it. And I think that's where the excitement comes from. Like there is a team. This is one of the situations like people are excited for the team that you can make with her, but I don't think
Right.
she has that wide variety, as it were.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Smarter minds than I will find ways of making her
Yeah,
better.
it was. All right, next up, the Merciless. Mystic's team ability, 225 or 150 points. Dark Knight's deity, monster, keywords. Reckless disregard for life, we will not hide in the shadows anymore. Special movement power, flurry and sidestep. Special damage power. And note, none of the dials start with either of these.
Right?
With the helmet, I could make them fight to the death for my amusement. Free, if the Merciless
The
if the
Merfolk.
Merfolith hit this turn, each player rolls a d6 and adds the number of characters on their force to the result. The player with the highest result must deal 1 damage to their characters. Deal one of their characters 1 unavoidable damage. If an opposing character is damaged this way after resolutions, heal the Merciless 2 clicks. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here, and a lot of that is, am I playing this with 150 points with a big army and winning that dice roll? Because now the Merciless is just not dying. Because he's much like you said with the Superboy, is he's got that fluctuation of defense power. So to get rid of that 18 defense with the Invincible, depending on where you get me, you either got me on Impervious or Invulnerable, which I have back now.
Right.
Now, of course, if you have Psychic Blast, that's neither here nor there. But you're also now taking damage because it's Mystics, unless you're Invincible. And it's a big fatty dial that's really hard to. Actually, it's the ones that win the dice roll deal their guys. Yeah. So in fact, you play with 225. You play with like one other character. You lose that dice roll and watch them deal damage and heal up your dude if he's taking any damage. Yeah, it's a hero there. If I get the Merciless as my chase, I'm going to play him, but I'm not going to be happy about it.
That's it. You summed it up. He's too reliant on blades when he's not on his top clicks, and when he's not on his top clicks, he doesn't have his cool powers. So I don't know. At least he is close combat focused, and the hide in the shadows thing makes him hard to hit from range. So your opponent wants to get close to try to deal damage, but if they do, they may regret it. But I still, for constructed, I don't think it's playable at all. And in sealed, I will play it at 150, but I won't be happy about it.
Mm. Speaking of not want to get played ever, the Devastator.
Oh, this is the one I pulled.
That's the one I pulled too. 225 or 150, Dark Knight's Brute Monster keyword, Reckless Disregard for Life, will not hide in the shadows. The Doomsday Virus, free. Choose an opposing character, the Devastator, hit this turn, and give that character a Doomsday Virus token. This game, characters modify their combat values by +1 for every 2 Doomsday Virus tokens they have. At the beginning of the turn, roll a d6 for each character with a Doomsday Virus token. If the result is equal to or less than the number of Doomsday Virus tokens that character has, deal that character 1 unavoidable damage for each Doomsday Virus token they have, then give them a Doomsday Virus token. What do you think of Devastator?
He's bad. And it's too bad because that Doomsday Virus thing seems like it would be cool, but you really got to get a lot of, you got to hit him a whole bunch of times for that to, for them to get multiple things. Ideally, if you've hit them multiple times with this guy, they're dead. And so it's kind of hard to really make that work. And otherwise, if they want 1 virus, they're pretty unlikely to roll badly enough for it to matter. And in the meantime, their values are getting cranked up. And he's just so outwittable and KOable at 225. Like in Constructed, he is completely unplayable. And I think in Sealed, he is playable for, like, he's a catch-22 because you want to play him on a higher level so that he can last longer and hope the Doomsday Viruses will work, but you're giving up too many points to do it, and otherwise I just don't think he's got what it takes when he needs it. So, oh man, he's just not that great.
Just not that good. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a big beefy dude that plays like a big beefy dude.
Right. And just like every other big beefy dude since the beginning of Hero Clicks, he gets outwitted and he gets pulverized.
Absolutely. All right, next up, the Batman Who Laughs. 5 range, 3 targets, placeable at 175 or 100 points. Ignores hindering for movement and line of fire. Reckless disregard for life. We will not hide in the shadows anymore. And then crowbar. The Batman Who Laughs starts the game with Robin attached. When Robin is attached, the Batman Who Laughs would take damage. Instead, Robin becomes unattached and is placed adjacent. When that Robin would be KO'd by an opponent's attack, instead attach him to the Batman Who Laughs. Free, place that Robin adjacent. And then Crow is his trait on the Robin Pog, which has 10 movement, charge, 11 attack with blades, indomitable. Robin takes no damage from traits named Reckless Disregard for life and can't be chosen for Mastermind.
Boy, it seems pretty good to me. Whenever he would take damage and Robin's attached, then you pop him off, and then you got to dog pile him right then and there. The only real downside being, of course, that you're hoping your opponent will bother to KO Robin, but if they don't, then that's a big lot of damage that Robin can be doing if they're not KOing him. So I don't know. It's tricky, man. It's just too bad when Robin gets poisoned, and you're like, well, that was fun. Or force blast into a wall or something. But those things are still somewhat situational. You can't count on them. In the meantime, it's a good dial. So I'm going to go with a thumbs up for 100 points. Probably not a thumbs up for 175, but real annoying. Yeah.
The thing that's worth noting about the force blast into a wall too is you have to have 2 outwits or Black Canary for that one to work, because he's got both charge and combat reflexes.
This is a fair point. Yeah.
All right.
Poison still works.
Yeah, poison does still work. All right, next up, Barbados. Quintessence team ability, 8 range, 200.
Barbados.
Is it Barbados? Barbados. It's probably Barbados. Just every time I say it, makes me want to go on,
yeah.
It makes me want to go on vacation when I say it. Dark Knight's deity monster keyword. Improved targeting, ignores hindering terrain. Assemble an army of nightmares is his first trait. Friendly characters with the monster keyword can use the Batman enemy team ability. Friendly characters with the Dark Knight's keyword can use the Batman ally team ability. Ignore that second half for sealed, because if you pull 2 chases, we're having a conversation.
Pretty good trait for constructed potentially, but let's see if the dial carries through.
Yeah. Special movement power, drag you into the dark multiverse, which he has on the first 4 clicks of 200, or sorry, first 5 clicks of 200 and the first 1 click of 100. Phasing teleport as free, but only to move 4 squares, and when he does, after resolutions, adjacent opposing characters have him mobile until your next turn. He's got a special attack power on his last 4 clicks. End your stories one by one. Steal energy. Power. Make any number of close attacks, each targeting a different opposing character. He will heal for each hit. And he's got a special damage power on the first 4 of 200, first 5 of 200, first 1 of 100. So falls the realm of light. Opposing characters within 6 squares that can use Outwit, Perplex, or Support can use Battle Fury. They can't be carried. They can't make range attacks. It's kind of how you're looking at that.
It doesn't matter for support, though, does it? Like, is that? I guess that's for flavor.
That's for I mean, you got to think the one character that can use support in this set is Raven, and she would technically be able to be carried, but then she wouldn't be because of Barbados.
Yeah. But then she can't use support after carrying anyway, so I don't know.
Basically, I think the idea is people who are smart are dumb now.
Okay. That's fair.
That's the flavor of it.
Okay. All right, I'm with you. Yeah. What do you think?
So, it's pretty neato for sealed. Although, yeah, he's quintessence, so he can't be outwitted. Got to remember that. If you do get that, if he's on one of his later dials and he's close enough to be making close attacks, I mean, it makes him very hard to hit, which means you have to commit to killing this guy. But Psychic Blast does exist in the set, so the 100-point dial is threatened by like Cyborg, as this guy doesn't come with any kind of stealth or evasion in that manner. That aside, the 200-point dial will laugh at that.
True.
But this is such a hard call in general. I like the effect he has on monsters, but then I only like it if I'm playing him at 200 points where I have a 12 attack that I'm sharing with my monsters, right? And if it's you know what? I just realized he's friendly to himself, so he will have the Batman ally team.
Yeah,
he will. About that, so he's fine. So yeah, he doesn't care about that Psychic Blast then. So it's then the exploit weaknesses he's got to worry about. Ah, man.
Wait, but he's not a Batman ally. He does care about it's Batman enemy that he has, so he cares about.
Well, he'll have both because.
Oh right, yeah, you're right. Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. So, yeah, you know what? All of a sudden he starts like it's that whole read the whole thing. Oh yeah, he gets better, and then the phasing, and then you can use that phasing again and make guys immobile. So like you can move on the 100-point die, you can move 10 and then 4, so you move 14, and then a
Yep.
bunch of dudes are now immobile. I like he's good. He's really good, but he's not point and click good. You
No,
do
I
have to
agree.
be a degree of smart to make this guy work for you. He does not autoplay for you. So I'm going to say if you're brave enough and you think you can play it intelligently enough, yeah, both point values can work for you in sealed. I don't know. What do you think, Tom?
I agree. I think it's well put.
Yeah, I had to really talk myself into it because this is my cold read of Barbatos.
Yeah, it was. Also hadn't put together the fact that he functionally has both the Batman and enemy and allied team abilities. That does make a big difference.
Mhm. And then there's the fast forces. These are just your general, like they're okay.
They're all bad. Like
Yeah,
they're all like the Batman's okay,
yeah,
but they're all bad.
yeah.
Do we want to go into them?
No, not really.
Not
Mr.
really.
Terrific. If you're
Yes.
really looking for,
Let's talk about him.
let's talk about Mr. Terrific for a second.
Yes.
Justice Society team ability, 50 points. Justice Society martial artist and scientist keywords. Uh, it's a 2 clicks of outwit, 2 clicks of prob dial. He's got charge for some reason, but it's really about this first trait. Terry taught the importance of fair play. Characters can't modify combat value positively or negatively by more than 1. So effectively, what we know as a rule of 3 becomes a rule of 1. I like this effect because there's a lot of stat stacking right now. Looking at you, Vulture. Though Vulture just, plus ones to both the attack and damage, he still murders most things with
Looking at you, Unimind. Looking
Yep.
like where else are we looking? We're looking at everyone.
every direction. I mean, looking at you, who's trying to grab a heavy object.
Right.
Look-
Yeah.
right?
As simple as that. Looking at you, close combat expert. Looking at you, Green Arrow.
Yeah. Like, I think this guy does fit into the grander meta game, and
Yes.
in the state it's in right now. So
100% he does. He also gives out an 18 defense, which is a lot harder to hit when you can only modify +1.
that's right.
He's real. I think he's very playable. I don't think that he's Nighthawk Prime levels of goodness, but that's okay. I think that there are certain people, again, smarter people than I, will find ways of really making him work. I am excited to try to get my hands on him if I can and try to play him. I don't know exactly on what kind of team, but it helps that he's got both martial artist and scientist, which both go a pretty long way. So, he's good. Like, he's also fairly cheap. He seems like he'd be good on a swarm type team anyway, where you're dealing with a lot of things going on as opposed to any particular amount of stat stacking. And I do think that there's a lot of potential playability, and I love the fact that his very existence forces you to think about the teams that you're building. Just in case you're completely reliant on modification, because you can't rely on it anymore.
And it's not that you have to adjust your team for his existence. You have to prepare yourself mentally for the fact that he will exist in general. It's that whole okay, so I'm giving +3s to all my attacks and all my damage is like, Mr. Terrific shows up, I got to do a little bit more work, and I don't just automatically get these. And where he really shines is there's a lot, for Star Fox as an example, that +2 perplex. That's cute. Now it's normal perplex.
That's really good.
Yeah, you do have to put some work into protecting him, because they're some of the characters we just mentioned do have the natural attacks to be able to hit this guy.
Sure, but they're going to have a harder time crossing the entire map without their modifications.
Yeah.
And so if you can protect him, I mean, I don't know. For 50 points, you keep him back, and ideally he can still call in some strong stuff so that if your opponent is trying to really get across the map, play aggressively, and try to get to him, then you've got Wolverines and Cyclopses and so forth getting thrown at them when they get too close. And until they do, then the rest of your team's trying to do the work. I think that there's potential there.
I like him. He's sitting back there you guys can't get to me. What are you doing? Wolverine? Yeah, thanks. Just give me a second. I love that imagery. I think he's good. Friend. Yeah, I think he's pretty great too. And kind of like Nighthawk Prime, he can do a little bit of fighting when when it comes to the nitty-gritty of it. He's not fighting like the Nighthawk Prime, but he's got outwit, he's got charge, he's got 11 attack. Not bad stats on his own.
No, he's perfectly good. Especially when I give him shape change.
All right. With that said, we're going to be wrapping it up now. Overall, the set, there's a couple pieces that, of course, in every set highlight. There's a couple pieces that may have a constructed team that we haven't built yet, or will be specific to some of these figures. So it's not, but it's on a whole. There's a couple dudes that are like, yeah, use that in constructed. The sealed environment looks pretty solid. Nothing's really breaking the environment, I don't think. After I've had a really good, solid look at it, I think the toughest dude in sealed has been the Lex Luthor, from my experience in my sight. Because I was sitting at the sidelines going, why is this Lex Luthor already done beating everybody? So, all right, Rick Yale wants me to talk about the Fast Force Flash. So let's pull that up very quickly.
He's not bad. He does. I like the fact that he's got the double rollout, 3 damage hypersonic off the top at 100 points. And he has something very similar, but without 3 damage, but at least Precision Strike gets it through at 50. It's kind of neat that I don't think he'll ever really team up with Cyborg, so his first trait doesn't really matter. But I do love the fact that when an opposing character moves, then after resolutions, you can move Flash 1 square. That's very disruptive. I think at 50 points he has potential, but again, I just don't think he's that great. I like the Indomitable, though.
That, you know what? I'm not going to wait forever power. That has existed in a Yu-Gi-Oh character in the past. I have played against it. It is obnoxious.
I'll bet.
It is super obnoxious. So yeah, he's got Justice League and Police team abilities. They're both pretty good.
Yeah.
And yes, Rick, for that format, he does really stand out.
For which format?
Rick is a big fan of Everyman.
Oh, yeah, he's good for Everyman too. But again, I can only get so excited about somebody who dies to 4 damage at 50 points, or who dies to 6 damage at 100 points and only has 3 damage output at that point.
Yeah.
Like it's never enough of anything. Poor Flash. He's just never quite enough of anything.
Yeah. All right. So that said, we're gonna be wrapping it up now. So we want to take a second to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/MarriedWithClicks. This past weekend, we just had our patron hangout. It was a good old time. Had a little bit more than we usually get to show up for it. Our next one will be in, of course, the first Sunday of May, assuming wrestling isn't on there, May 5th. I got to double check that. No, Money in the Bank's the 19th, so we're good for that. May 5th. Why does that? No, because, and then I have okay. Check my wrestling tickets too. We're good.
We're on the 28th.
Yeah. We're on the 28th, but I have like 3 events that I have tickets for.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll talk to you about that actually after the show. Anyway.
Okay.
That said, done that. So yeah, patreon.com/MarriedWithClicks if you want to support us a little bit. Also, we've recently done a little bit of research, and if you do want to support us at the in a better way that also supports yourself, YouTube premiums or YouTube Red accounts actually do go a little bit better towards supporting the channels that you watch. They also give you no ads and access to YouTube Music, so check that stuff out. And there's all kinds of perks and benefits to it. So sell a little bit for YouTube, as it were. So without further ado, as far as questions are concerned, I got to take a quick peek at the Facebook. Oh my god, so my monitor goes off and everything is in the center screen. Thanks for that. Oh man. All right. I want to ask page. Okay, so somebody is legitimately trolling us in our Discord, which I appreciate, because there's a channel called Troll the Meta Lab, and I accept trolling in that level. There was a official question, and I'm trying not to open up Facebook because I find whenever I'm on this show, that's when everybody needs to message me, which is super, super convenient, which I don't mean in any way, shape, or form. Come on. Oh, and I love it. They changed how things work at the last second. So, all right, here we go. All right, so it is an official episode now. I gotta just grab my paper.
Nice.
Grab my stand because
the all important. Now I'm forgiven.
It's official. It's a Chris Stockhouse question. That was the biggest struggle to do that ever. Yes. Chris wants to ask, how do I get out of my 8th place funk and get a higher seed so I don't have to play against the number 1 seed right away in Top Cut? I ended up 8th in Michigan and Ohio States. I don't want to say the obvious. I don't want to say the obvious, which is be first place. Oh. That's the rude one. Okay. If you want to be high up and not, the best way to not play against first place is to be, I think, second place. So it's like you want to play a team that wins but doesn't necessarily score. Or you want to be fourth or fifth place in the middle of the row. Either way, there's no like specific way to get out of that. Like if you're in the top 8, you've lost a game or two. And you kind of have to either score so that you place higher or place in a place where you won't be in the 8th place, or just be doing better than the 8th place. Like there's no specific way to say this is how you do it outside of just win or play teams that score points, is really a big thing. Because if you play a team that scores even when it loses, that helps your pairings. I don't know, Tom. Do you have something better advice than I have for this particular type of question?
No, if I had better advice than that, then I would be following it myself. Right?
Well, Tom, you and I are notorious for 9th place.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what can I say? How do you get out of your 8th place funk? I don't know. Let's put it this way. If you're in 8th place, then it generally means that you are scoring a pretty fair number of points, but you're losing some matches. So I think that, if you really want to, you can't rely on it, but if you want to challenge yourself to play outside perhaps whatever your current comfort zone might be, you try playing a team that is much harder to lose at the expense of perhaps not winning by as much, and you go for the gamble. Don't tie style teams or teams that are designed to counter other teams, or just you play a more conservative game and stuff like that. This is the thing. If you're coming in 8th, it generally means that you're doing well for the people who've lost 1 or 2 games. So try to be the guy who doesn't lose, but maybe doesn't score as much when they do. That'll probably mean playing a less comfortable sort of style, but it could be an interesting experiment. Frankly, it's not like I think it's going to work. Because again, if you could always say that worked, then that's what I would be doing, and I would be winning. So I guess challenge yourself to play something different. That's, I guess, the real point that I'm driving towards. It's a far more general statement. If you're finding you're always having the same result, whatever that result is, try playing a different thing than the way you generally like to do. And it's a hard thing with Chris, because Chris plays lots of different things already. So we know that he's not in a rut of I always play this thing. But question your instincts. The worst thing that could possibly happen is it doesn't go so well, and you do better next time. Nice thing about HeroClix, it's continuous that way.
Yeah. Hopefully we had some kind of degree of advice. You're talking to like the king of squeaking in, the 2 kings like squeaking in the top 8. So we're
well, yeah, we can commiserate.
Bench.
We can commiserate more than we can advise, but I think that Chris gets that because he is a great player.
Now the other thing you got to understand is I also come from the situation of I have very frequently made it to the top 8 by getting in first place and then bombing out to that 8th place guy in the Swiss. Like, play your butt off. You should probably ignore the Swiss pairings for your mentality. Yeah, they are first place, but unless they played against you, you don't know the situation, the pairings that they had to deal with. If they did play against you, you're better for it because you've lost against it and you know how to deal with it, or how you can adjust in order to play against it. So, yeah. All right. That aside, we did have one other question, and it's the type of question I really hate answering. This comes from Charles White, and this is it's not like I hate you for asking this question. I hate answering this question because it feels like responsibility is being put on me. His big question is, would you guys recommend buying a brick or more of this set? And that depends entirely on how much HeroClix do you play and in what manner do you plan to play it. This is the most honest answer I can give. If you are a strictly competitive HeroClix player, save your brick money, save your case money, get the pieces you want. If you are a player of HeroClix in all facets, I always suggest getting a brick or case. More figures means more possible combinations for all kinds of different play. And but like, I'm so bad at giving buying advice because I buy a brick minimum every set. We also get one from WizKids, which is a wonderful little bonus. So it's easy for me to say, yeah, get a brick because I get handed one. So I was like, yeah, get a case. right? But that is a financial investment that you as a player have to kind of parse out. So if it was my suggestion, if you're a strictly competitive player, go buy a Mr. Oz, and look at your teams and say which chase do I want to get my hands on. I would aside from that, a brick or a case always gets you more figures, and we love this game so much. Buy more figures. How can you go wrong with that? I don't know, Tom. How do you like answering this question? Because it makes me very uncomfortable.
The only way I think that I can approach the question is to consider this set as compared to other sets. Not so much in a is it better or worse, because that's subjective, but what percentage of the set is contributing something meaningful to the larger game, because this is a mostly competitive show, even though we talk about everything from a competitive setting. And from that perspective, I'm going to go on this set is on the low side. Like if there was a set where you were going to skip buying it and just buy figures, this would be the one. Because when I compare it to other sets, you don't have things like shifting focus where you want to have multiple pieces that really work together. You don't have a sub theme where you want to have a whole bunch of different pieces because they all make each other better for the most part. The sub themes are a bit underwhelming in this set. There are no pieces that come packaged with special objects that will be useful in this set and are sitting at the rare or super rare slots. The chases you can't rely on getting in a brick anyway, so who cares? Like that shouldn't even enter your mind. The super rares are kind of the same deal. If there are specific super rares you want, you should buy them in the secondary market. The real question is there enough in the CUR that either works together with itself or contributes something interesting to the game, like those special objects, like shifting focus characters, etc., that you're going to get a lot of mileage out of them? I would say the answer is no. And so if there was a set in which I think you'd be more, you're better off to be more conservative in your buying habits, this would be the one. It sounds a bit negative, but I believe that's the truth.
Hmm. But that said, we all like HeroClix. Who doesn't like buying HeroClix, right?
Yeah, no, I'm not like I certainly like. I tried to buy a case, they were sold out. They were able to give me a brick and then a handful of boosters, and I'm going to buy more. Like I like HeroClix, I like buying HeroClix, and there's interesting stuff in the set. But if you got to take a mercenary attitude, then this is perhaps one where you want to kind of save your money for X-Men Animated or something.
Yeah. We're about to wrap up, but there is one important thing that I want to share with everybody. Is the fact that I have reduced my initial purchasing on HeroClix has actually made me going to stores and buying the occasional pack a little bit more exciting. There's more that I can possibly pull in a pack that I still have yet to get. And I think that's important because that means I'm supporting the stores that I go to play. Because that's where I show up to buy HeroClix, is other stores in which I'm playing HeroClix. So if that kind of factors in, then yeah, if you grab a brick, don't feel bad about it, buy a couple extra packs here and there, if that's the kind of person you are.
That's where I started in HeroClix. There's still something very thrilling about that.
Absolutely. All right. That said, Tom, we did it. We made it.
Whew.
Not bad. It was we did it before midnight.
3 hours-ish.
Yeah.
Yucks.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you guys for watching live. Thank you guys for watching in the archives. Also want to extend an extra thank you to majesticccg.com/apex-insiders. $3 a month is brain dumps from some really great players in the game of HeroClix and some occasional maniacs who do support the site with their input. But the Apex Insiders, if you're looking to become a great player in the game of HeroClix, you're trying to go from a casual player to competitive player, $3 a month is a low price to pay to get information from players who are really good and proven in the game of HeroClix. And also, once you got some of that information, you want to get a little bit of practice in that. And we're also brought to you in part by Edward Sheldon's HeroClix coaching sessions. So we're over the hump of states and provincials, but nationals is just around the corner, and you want to get that extra edge in the game of HeroClix that your local play group might not be able to offer, or you don't have a local play group. Edward offers a wide variety of services to help refine your play style, tactical coaching, and even practice games are all services that he provides. And they all start as low as $15 an hour, with some of the proceeds going to help support the show. You contact him at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. The link, there's a link to the email in the description below. And if you use the promo code MARRIEDWITHCLICKS, all in capital letters, 3 different words, you can get started today, and it helps to support the channel, and it'll help to support your game, because with these new stuff from Rebirth, you want to try out some new ideas, you want to get some practice, and practice will make your team better. Have a good night, everybody.